What's up? What's up? What is up? Once again, you're on with the Black Comic Lords in the building for another dope episode of Wakanda Whiskey and Blurred. I'm your host, Paul. With me for, as usual, is my boy, Marc.
What's going on?
I'm going to need you to get a little bit more amped up than that, but that's cool. Happy Veterans Day to you, bro. I see you got your Nightwing shirt on.
It's Air Force, but thank you very much.
Man, you sure that's not like
It's the new Air
Commander
Force
Steve
logo.
Rogers? That looks like the Commander Steve Rogers shirt.
Yeah, no, this is the new Air Force logo. When I was in, they didn't have this logo, but yeah,
Well,
I
thank you
actually
for your
kind of like
service,
this. Appreciate it.
giving up your time defending our fair country.
5 years.
Well, what's up, man? What's new with you? I haven't talked to you
Nothing,
all week.
nothing. Just wait to see what's going to happen tomorrow. Paul and I both are graduates of the University of Miami, so we're Miami Hurricane fans, and our team has not been that good. Let me rephrase that.
Yeah,
We've
rephrase
had
that.
we've had spurts of excellence, but then not so much, especially at the quarterback play. Don't know what's going on with our quarterback. Don't understand why our coach is sticking with him. But we play our biggest rival tomorrow, Florida State. So yeah, it's going to be a long afternoon tomorrow. That's all I can say.
What's up to see Bizzle? Good to see you, brother. For those who are joining us, please, if you have a moment as we start the show, hit that like button, hit the subscribe to the channel in case you've scrolled in and seen us and like, hey, these guys seem kind of cool. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel and hit the little notification bell so you can see us in the future. It's free, it costs you nothing, but it helps us out tremendously. So, with that being said, this is Wakanda Whiskey and Blurdom, and we always start out with a little something something to sip on. What you got this week, bro?
All right, so 2 weeks ago or last week, I went to the liquor store, bought two bottles. The first bottle may or may not have been black owned because the advertisement definitely didn't seem to have any colored folk in it. So
You got bamboozled on that one, bro.
I can't attest to that one, but this one most definitely is, and it's Woodson bourbon whiskey. So I trusted my whiskey guy, and I didn't do any research. And as you can see by the picture that's up, is Charles Woodson. Charles Woodson, who played for the University of Michigan. I think he's the last defensive player to win the Heisman Trophy, like around 97, 98, something like that. So, like a lot of other celebrities, he's gotten into the spirits industry. Paul had a whiskey from Scottie Pippen. He also had one from Jamie Foxx. So when I bought this, I didn't know it was his, but now I do. I'm gonna be honest with you, having not tasted anything yet, because whenever I do this, the first time that I taste it is here with you guys. And I'm reading the back of it, and it says that the whiskey has been aged not 6 years, but for 6 months. And for those who know anything about whiskey, it's about the aging in the barrels, oak barrels. I believe it has to be American oak. And when the whiskey is in the barrels, it sits up on a shelf. The flavor that you taste comes from the wood and how long it has basically been marinating in those barrels. A lot of times, the older it is, the more flavorful it is. As I said, this one has been in barely a football season, so I'm curious. I'm nervous. I want to say skeptical, but I don't want to say that. But I kind of am. Okay, flavor's not too bad. Let's see what we got. Okay, like I thought, it's extremely light. And by that I mean it's not a complex whiskey. A lot of times when you taste a whiskey, especially one that has been aged appropriate amount, and when I say appropriate amount, for me it's 4 years or older, preferably the older the better. It has a lot of flavor to it. It has complexity to it. There are different notes that you will find. This one, it has, to me at least, it has no complexity. As I said, it's extremely young. It's only 6 months old. I can't even say that this is one that I would, want to put in a cocktail. Um, this one does not get a thumbs up from me. I wouldn't, I wouldn't waste my time or money on this one. I can't even remember how much I spent on it, but maybe his distiller after he's had some time. I don't know who he has working on the mash build for him, but maybe in a few years after he's had his mash build marinate or age for longer, it might be a decent pour. But as of right now, I can't say that I would buy this again.
Sounds like it's garbage.
It's not good. It's not horrible, but I can't say that it's good. And I'm sorry, Charles, but again, you want to build your legend. Your legend takes time to build, and whiskey takes time to age. So I would just encourage him and his industry and his team to allow his whiskey to age. It seems like he just wanted to jump out there and get into the spirits market and put out something that wasn't quite ready for consumption yet, in my humble opinion. Couching and slouching, go blue. Your coach is going to be sitting on the sideline. Well, no, he's not. He's going to be sitting in his living room tomorrow because he got punished. But yeah, I would not.
Does he still have his job?
He has his job, but he won't be on the sideline for the remainder of the season. There are some alleged recruiting violations and things of that nature. So
alleged.
Yeah. But anyway. But yeah, this is not. Yeah. I might donate this to Goodwill on Monday.
Oh wow. Wow.
It's not good.
Let's give it to a hobo on the street.
Yeah, it's not good.
Hey, just what's up to y'all in the chat? Fat Al the Collector, Pericles Dragon Balls, Couching and Slouching with C Bizzle, Chad Kinsler, Gordon Mahan. Thank y'all for showing up. We appreciate each and every one of you. If any of you want to drop a little money in our little pit here, hit the $ on your screen and give whatever you can to the cause of the Black Comic Lords. I'm going to now share what I picked up. Mark and I have been on this thing where we're trying to hold on a second. Highlight Black African American or Black whiskeys, Black-owned whiskey distilleries. The one I've picked up is one called Red Hazel. I know nothing about this whiskey, absolutely nothing, except that it was done by a Black-owned distillery. But let's check out what they say about themselves. Our story, since they could remember, the brother and sister duo Ty Burton and T.K. Burton Johnson shared fond memories of family and friends enjoying cocktails and plenty of laughs together. Red Hazel, the brainchild of co-founder T.K. Burton Johnson, comes from a passion for connecting with people and enjoying a well-crafted old-fashioned. The pair developed the Red Hazel brand for generations of whiskey drinkers who enjoy a smooth taste with a light cinnamon finish. Our hope is that Red Hazel will hold a spot on your bar and be part of some of your best memories. Cheers. Well, I got some red flags already. One, we're not talking. All right, let me back up a sec. When it comes to whiskey, I can be a bit of a snob. For me, a good whiskey, what I classify as a good whiskey, is one that you should be able to drink neat. No ice, no drop of water, certainly no mixer. You judge the whiskey on its own merit by itself. The fact that it says that this is something that they've crafted for enjoying a old-fashioned would seem to indicate this is one of those liquors that's sort of set up to be a cocktail more than a drink on its own. As I check the bottle, yeah, it says 35% alcohol by volume, only 70 proof. Not a lot of harshness in this at all. So it's a mixer. Is what I haven't tasted it yet, but that's what one would think. So let's pop this bad boy open and see what we got. They did say something about cinnamon. You do have a light scent of cinnamon. And that's it. I don't smell anything else. Just a light scent of cinnamon. Very light.
Fireball, basically.
It's funny you should say that. It is, in my opinion, a watered down version of Fireball. That's literally what it tastes like.
So
it tastes like a watered down version of Fireball. You know when you have a Fireball and you put ice in it by itself and the ice melts down and it gets warm?
I don't drink Fireball, so no, I have no idea.
That's kind of what it tastes. It's not bad. It's not bad. But it's a flavored whiskey, which Marc hates. He hates flavored whiskeys.
No, that's not true. That's absolutely not true.
You literally said that last week.
I don't recall saying that. You'd have to play the tape, but because one of my favorite whiskeys is flavored, and it is Wild Turkey American Honey. It is a honey flavored whiskey, not the Jack Daniels one, but the Wild Turkey one. Listen to me when I tell you. Get you a bottle of Wild Turkey American Honey. Get you either some Sprite or some ginger ale. And listen, that is some good drink. I told MJ about it, and he told me that he was sitting there just sipping on it. He went through damn near the whole bottle. Wild Turkey American Honey is a phenomenal flavored whiskey. That's the only one that I can think of off the top of my head that I do enjoy. Not Crown. Oh my God, Crown had a maple version several years ago. The worst. I know a lot of folks like the Crown Apple and stuff like that. Not a huge fan myself, but Wild Turkey American Honey is phenomenal. But that's the only flavored whiskey that I know of.
Hey, we got a super chat. Thank you, Gordon. And for that, you get our super chat thing, which I can't find, and I'm stalling for time. But this is for you, Gordon.
Donation. It's a donation. I thought it was the trash. Don't be hitting on me.
Thank you.
It's always for your support, brother. Really appreciate it.
Donation. It's a donation. I thought it was the trash. Don't be hitting on me.
Thank you.
Wait, Fat ATL the collector is Frat.
Fatal.
Hey, what's up, Frat? Okay, I see you. Appreciate
Look
the
at the
money.
little icon he's got next to the shout out to the black. That kind of looks like the little Black Comic Lord symbol too, doesn't it?
It does.
How'd you do that?
That is kind of cool.
Fatal, you're gonna have to send that emoji to us because that's kind of dope. I like that.
Need you to darken up that hand too, though. Looks kind of lightish.
It's all love, man. Thanks. Appreciate it. What's up, Sierra? Sierra Boxy in the building. Sierra's been trolling us a little bit lately. I've been watching you, Sierra. I don't think we haven't been noticing that. Keith White.
Keith,
what's up,
that's
man?
my frat
How you
brother.
doing?
Keith is Frat. He's also my Morehouse brother. I don't know if you came to homecoming, Keith, but I definitely didn't see you, and you definitely didn't hit me up. So that's a whole nother story.
You guys are all over the place.
Yes, we are. He's a teacher up here in the metro Atlanta area. Met Keith, God, about 10, 12 years ago, if not longer, thanks to social media. That's how I've met a lot of people over the social media. Can be a wonderful thing, and also it can also be a disaster. But I have actually met some very, very cool people through social media. Hell, Derek Page, who we went to Vegas 4 years ago. I met him through social media. And that was actually, even though I had known him online for like 7, 8 years, that was the first time we had ever met in person.
Fatal agrees with you. He says it's gold.
Oh, okay.
Yes, you, Sierra. Yeah. My eyes on you. But anyway, Chad Kinzer says he's in the
Okay.
Atlanta area also.
What comic book store do you go to, Chad? Let me know.
Let us know in the chat. So now we've done our whiskey portion. So now we give the next section of our show to our dude.
Keep on back! Keep on back! Keep on back! Keep on back!
Almost embarrassed that I have to specify T'Challa and not Black Panther in these days. But such is life when you have Ryan Coogler, Nate Moore, and Kevin Feige.
I put out a poll on my Twitter a couple of weeks ago asking who did more to destroy the Black Panther intellectual property or IP, and the choices were the last writer of Black Panther, not Dr. Ewing, but the one before that, Ryan Coogler, Nate Moore, and I put other as a last choice. Without question, Ryan Coogler of all people got the number one spot, which is kind of crazy.
He's ultimately the one who made the call. Bad decision, bad call.
Yep. And it just shows you that a lot of people don't read, because anybody who reads comics would probably say that the last writer of the comic book did more to destroy the property than Ryan Coogler did.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah. Ultimately, I care more about the comics than I do about the MCU.
Correct.
With that being said, for our Black Panther Wakanda section tonight, we have a very special guest. Someone in the Black Panther recast T'Challa community, of which Marc and I are very much a part of, Mr. Theo B. What's up, bro?
What's going on, fellas? What's up? What's good? What's popping? What's cracking? What's percolating? What's really good in the hood?
We decided to have you on the show on a very auspicious weekend, the night before our two teams play, because you're a Noel fan, aren't you? Don't you live in Trailer-Hassey?
Oh, we're not doing that. I got to throw a flag on the play this early in the game. You know, dadgum good and well. You know, dadgum good and well. It's all about them Georgia Bulldogs over here. Look at the.
I gotta get my licks in, man. I gotta get my licks in because I gotta beat up on somebody because my team about to be taken behind a woodshed tomorrow.
So wait, so Theo, how did you become a Georgia fan?
Oh, that's easy. Lived in New York for a little bit, Bronx, New York, and everything like that. This is one of those interesting stories. Early on, my mother wasn't able to take care of me, so I went to go stay with my grandparents in Camilla, Georgia. And then, of course, I was too young, so I went to go stay with my aunt who could keep up with me. So 1st through 4th in Atlanta, Georgia, 5th through part of 8th in Bronx, New York, and part of 8th through high school in Camilla, Georgia. So I saw the 1980 national championship football.
Gotcha. And that was the last time that they had done anything. I used to work for the DA's office here, one of the counties, and I was obviously the only Miami fan, and everybody else, for the most part, who were college football fans, were Georgia fans, and everybody would always talk smack to me. And I'm like, y'all need to relax, because Georgia hasn't done anything since Carter was in the White House. You know what I'm saying? They hadn't won a national championship, had no Heisman Trophy winners, but over the past 2-3 years, I can't say nothing. You know, I've left that office 11 years ago at this point, but I mean, you guys are top of the football world, and I can't say nothing about it.
I will tell you, I am the most humble Georgia Bulldog fan you know, because of that reason you just alluded to.
Right. I mean, they literally hadn't done anything in 30 years and always talking smack to me. But, you know, it is what it is. You guys also, back-to-back champs, you know, have a good shot at going again. So, yeah.
If I could take the time out to wish the rest of my brothers, Marines, Simplified Dallas, happy birthday, Devil Dogs. We in here. 248. Yeah, we in here. Happy birthday to y'all. Us.
And
much
Chad,
respect and thank you to all of you who have served tonight.
Chad, nobody cares that you're a Seminoles fan, but some of the comic book stores that you mentioned, I go to. Oxford Games and Comics, I go to. Paul, I took you there when you came to visit. That was one of the ones. He also put up Galactic Quest. I think that one is in Lithonia, I think. But what was the other one that he put up?
Dave's Comics.
Dave, I'm not familiar with Dave's Comics. Dave's Comics, Oxford, and Galactic Quest. Yeah, I go to Oxford kind of frequently. Dave's I'm not familiar with. Like I said, I think Galactic Quest is in Lithonia. I don't get up there often at all. My comic book store is Titan Games and Comics in Cobb County. That's my go-to. So yeah.
All right. So Theo.
Yes, sir.
Mark and I have started a segment where we're going over the top, in our opinions, the top 3 Black Panther writing runs of all time. That of Jungle Action.
For his individual title, not taking him in the Avengers or anything else. But
right. No,
the top 3 volumes. So we have Jungle Action done by Don McGregor for the most part. We have volume 3 written by Christopher Priest, and volume 4 written by, I'm sorry, is it 4?
It's 5, I think.
Yeah, I think it's 5.
No, it is 4. It is 4. 5 is sure. Volume 4 written by Reginald Hudlin. So we're going to start with we did Jungle Action 5, the first issue with T'Challa. So now we're going to do Jungle Action 6 this week.
That's one I don't have. It's one of the few.
How do you not own Jungle Action 6?
I'm sorry.
The very first appearance of Killmonger.
Hold on. Don't act like you didn't know that I don't own it, because I told you that I don't own it. So no,
I'm in disbelief because I didn't know until you just told me today that you don't own Jungle 6.
There are like 3 Jungle Actions that I don't have. This is one of them.
One of the most important ones.
It is. It is. You at least got to have access to it, though.
I can't even think of one that's even more important than Jungle Action 6.
Yeah, that's not. Hey, yeah.
That's kind of crazy.
It isn't. Yeah, it is significant. I mean,
that one now.
You're not gonna act like that.
Very, very expensive. So I'm missing 6, 8, and 16. Those are the only 3 that I don't have.
Yeah, get your guap up, man, and get that book.
Get the guap up so you can get the book.
That's how we roll as comic collectors.
I ain't mad. I'm not mad. Get that guap up.
All right, so this is a classic issue. This is a key by all accounts, not just Black comic collecting counts, by all comic collecting counts. This is a key issue. This is the first appearance of Eric Killmonger. It was also the first issue that was written by Don McGregor. Mark pointed out last week that issue 5 of Jungle Action was actually a reprint of Avengers.
Let me see.
Like 56 or 62 or something.
62.
Avengers 62. Yeah, it was a print.
Avengers 62. So this is Don McGregor's first writing job. Art by Rick Buckler, who did a fantastic job. The thing about that I think makes the Jungle Action run stand out is the poetry with which Don McGregor writes. This is not my favorite run. My favorite run's the Priest run, but I give this run props for the world building it did of Wakanda. In addition to Killmonger, we also saw the introduction of characters such as Zuri and Wakabi and Taku as well. I mean, these guys form the nucleus around T'Challa. It's interesting, and we'll talk a little bit more about this in a second. One of the problems that I had with the last Black Panther run by He Who Shall Not Be Named on the show ever again, was the very first issue. You had Wakandans, and Mark and I mentioned this in the very first show. We reviewed Black Panther #1 from that run. You had Wakandans that were speaking to T'Challa like his name was Stanley or something. Just cursing him out, completely disrespectful. I understand he's not king anymore, but you just don't talk to a monarch like that. The one that's not when you're coming out of a monarchy that's lasted for 10,000 years. And this is a man who's literally saved your country numerous times.
at that point, T'Challa had been the king of Wakanda since he was in his late teens, 18, 19 years old. So I would say that T'Challa is probably late 30s, early 40s. So you got to figure he has been their monarch for 20 years. And he has literally put his life on the line for that nation. He almost single-handedly thwarted a Skrull invasion that everybody knows about. And you had characters basically saying "F you" T'Challa to his face. Nah, man, nah. That writing was horrible.
The
I
reason,
still gotta. I'm sorry.
yeah, go
I
ahead.
still didn't. I still didn't understand how he's still a hold behind Galactic Emperor. Like you know, I, I think we all pretty smart. Various levels of education and everything like that. So I thought maybe something was wrong with me. I thought maybe I skipped a day or maybe a year world history or something like that. And I had to figure what was going on. Like, is a kingdom under an empire, or is the empire? I needed somebody to explain it to me like I was in the third grade. And I just find it real hard to be dumb, stupid when you got a smart device near you. So I had to Google. Well, no, kingdoms fall up under empire. So I was trying to understand how he's still a galactic emperor. Like, that's still on record. That's still canon. But he ain't the king.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't really explored that portion yet. I think when we had sent sent a series of questions to Dr. Eve Ewing, I don't know if she really gave us a definitive answer on that one. We do know that in that run, that it was a one shot. What was it called? The issue they did. It was a Black Panther, and it really sort of focused on the new M'Baku.
Oh, you
That in
talking
Wakanda?
about?
Was
Yeah,
that?
that was a Wakanda. That was
Yeah.
one of the Wakanda series. If I'm
Was
not
it one of
mistaken.
Wakanda's? I thought it was something
Yeah.
different. Was
No,
it one of
no,
the
it
I
issues?
think
it was one of the Wakandas. I got that book around here somewhere. I got to do it. It's up there somewhere. I took it down.
So in this issue, T'Challa makes M'Baku the regent of the intergalactic empire.
Mhm.
I don't necessarily know if simply making someone a regent abdicates your role as emperor. It might
No,
make you more of a figurehead, but you're still emperor. It's like
Yeah.
having a prime minister and being the monarch. Your prime minister runs the day-to-day activities, but you're still the figurehead leader of the empire. So that still hasn't been explored with by Dr. Ewing yet. I mean, his status as emperor, he's still emperor. I mean, it's weird that they even call him king. He's really Emperor T'Challa.
I would just like to think if I studied Eastern Asia, who, I think world history, Eastern Asia, they dealt with stuff like that, kingdoms, empires, and everything like that. So did Europe. I would have thought that a student, excuse the pun, student of the game, appreciate the dog. I'd have thought a student of this would have understood the way this stuff worked. But I'm just an English major, so I don't know. I'm still
I'm on
trying to figure it
record
out.
as saying that I did not like the Coach run. I did not like the whole concept of the Galactic Empire, especially one, that's out in space. And T'Challa, he didn't even know that he had an empire under his name. I just was never a fan of that concept. And
I'm the complete opposite. I absolutely love that
but he
concept.
doesn't do anything with his empire, and it does nothing for the character.
Well, that's the fault of the last writer, because as he became emperor, the last writer was supposed to go ahead and run with it. He doesn't even mention really the empire in his run, his entire run, 15 issues. Barely mentioned the fact that even existed, and certainly didn't deal with it in any significant way. Just another failing of that writer. But I mentioned the fact that in that last run he was spoken to in a very disrespectful way. You have kind of a similar thing in this Jungle Action run, but it's between like Wakabi and Taku and Zuri. The way that they speak to T'Challa, these are his closest confidants, so they criticize him openly to him. T'Challa, you shouldn't have been away for so long. That's why the people are rebelling against you. if you stayed around here more, maybe you wouldn't have these problems. It's still a little borderline disrespectful and even noted, but this is his close core. These are his closest advisors. And it also humanizes T'Challa because he's not some tyrant or sort of absent ruler who is so distant from his people that he can't listen to the opinions of others.
Right.
I thought that was a defining moment for Don McGregor to write T'Challa with this close human people to help keep him grounded around him. The very fact that Monica Lynn, he brings her to Wakanda, and she'd already been established in Avengers at that point, but he brings her to Wakanda, helps to ground him because she's not impressed by all of the king stuff. She's actually quite, flippant about his role as king, saying
she called him to Charlie.
Huh?
She called him to Charlie.
Call him to Charlie, saying, "Hey, you're basically Tarzan and I'm Jane." She's very flippant about the whole thing. But so that was an interesting way to sort of ground the character.
Yeah, that's not being disrespectful. If you can't trust or have your closest friends and advisors be real with you, then you don't need to have them around you. That's completely different than having one of your subjects who has probably never ever interacted with you basically saying fuck you after you've saved his or her life. No, that's a failure of the writer, one of the many failures of the previous writer.
Even when you look at Wakabi in the book, when Monica Lynn is in the room and everything like that, he wants to address T'Challa. He wants to talk to T'Challa in private. He don't want to have discussions in front of her. And like you said, that's not something that you got from He Who Shall Remain Nameless. So your friends will call you out behind closed doors, but publicly, no, they're gonna hold you down. Friends,
right.
Especially when you are the leader of a nation.
Absolutely.
Like Michael Corleone said, you never go against me, you never go against the family. You know what I'm saying? When Fredo basically was taking the side of Mo Green, he shouldn't have done that in front of everybody. He should have had Michael's back in public and then said something to him in private. You never go against the family.
Absolutely.
This one was called Panther's Rage. At this point, T'Challa had left Wakanda to become an Avenger. He's traipsing around the world, saving the world as an Avenger, hanging out with, from Wakanda's perspective, he's hanging out with the white folk, and he's leaving us behind. So there's been some dissension left in Wakanda over the fact that their ruler isn't ruling. He's basically traipsing around the world, and he's left his mother in charge. Just on this first page, I just want to note these two characters you see, Teyete and I forget the other guy's name. It starts with a K. It's like Katima, something like that. These were kind of like the comic relief, because every other issue, these guys would pop up, these little henchmen, these little petty crime guys, and he'd end up kicking their ass. And they were just bumbling buffoon criminal types in Wakanda. And I just thought that was a funny thing. It was a running theme that every time he ran into them, he just, kick their butt and tie them up, and they'd be like, "Oh, geez, this guy again."
If I could, I found some irony between Jungle Action 6, just going back over it. I found some irony between Jungle Action 6 and what's going on with the current storyline in Dr. Eve Ewing's run.
Yes, I was going to touch on that. Go ahead.
The irony in which they talk about, like, there are many small villages as this one. Consider when was the last time you visited any of the isolated mountain settlements? Well, Dr. Eve Ewing isn't necessarily calling them, settlements and everything like that, but it's the same sentiment. When was the last time you left the Golden City? With you pointing out earlier that Don McGregor is doing a great job with world building when he built this out. I don't think we're necessarily having a conversation about him not being around and burning T'Chaka if writers after Don McGregor would have continued that world building process, because the Golden City, I don't want to say, but I'm gonna say Metropolis. It's one city. it's surrounded by a whole bunch of other cities. That guy, T'Challa, has been literally holding down a whole dadgum nation, not just a city.
Yeah.
Where his help at? Where his help at? So I
Him
found that bit of irony, though.
But it's like him just staying because he's the king. He doesn't have to go on the campaign trail, right? So he's just holed up in Washington, D.C., as it were. He doesn't have to go to Chicago or Phoenix or Tulsa or Dallas because he already has the power, and that's where the power seat is. So that's probably one reason why.
Yeah, let me show that. Let me show that panel that Theo was just mentioning.
Yeah. I just thought it was like, Wakanda should have protection outside of T'Challa. And of course, this is before we get to
The door.
the Dora Milaje and the Hatu Zadaze and everything like that. But in 2023, for us to still be revisiting that, it says a lot about the surrounding cast of characters that he's had, such as Taku in the Mute Zone, that we're just not using. So it's just crazy.
So here's what the pages that Theo was referencing. Here you've got T'Challa, you've got his two closest advisors, Wakabi and Taku. Taku's the one with the radio hanging on his back. He's their communications officer, tech guy. He's their guy in the van. He's the tech guy. He's what Shuri is now in the comics. And Wakabi is kind of like one of his chief advisor guys. So he says, how have such atrocities been allowed to happen, Wakabi? And Wakabi, remember I was talking about, these guys talk to him like he's just a regular dude because these are his closest friends and advisors. You allowed it to happen. Have a care, Wakabi. This is not a time for dispute. You've always been too lenient, Taku. These subjects are not the concern of a mere communications advisor. Perhaps you can answer my question, Taku, and also explain Wakabi's hostility. And they're explaining to him that since he left, all the smaller villages of Wakanda have just been sort of in disarray. What's interesting is he goes, they remain secluded, governed mostly. Listen to this part right here. They remain secluded, governed mostly by their own leaders, and one has arisen from that vast as one fiercer than all the others. So when Theo, you mentioned Dr. Ewing's run, this is why I think her run is really sort of jungle action based, because that's kind of what she's talking about. Is in the current Black Panther run, Black Panther's been gone again for a while. And he's removed as king and Black Panther, and she's exploring the fact of what happens in that vacuum and how these smaller cities and these smaller communities react to that. And I thought, in my opinion, I think she got some inspiration, particularly from the jungle action run in that regard.
Here's something that I find interesting that's kind of based on modern day is, based on these panels right here, you're talking about, T'Challa is holed up in the Golden City and these other outlying villages
right
are ruled by individuals. It reminds me of what happens in Afghanistan. The center of Afghanistan is Kabul. It's supposed to be one large country, but outside of Kabul, the government has no real control or authority outside of that city center.
Right.
Those other outlying areas are ruled by what? Tribal chiefs. So it's somewhat apropos to modern day, and I think that's pretty interesting.
Right. I was gonna ask if you could show the picture right above that where they were talking about like the burning sea or the blood sea, the Red Sea, and everything like that, with the the atrocities that have been done. And I'm pointing this out because all of this was done by Eric Killmonger,
right?
Which is everybody who likes to talk. But no, this is what Don McGregor was looking at when he was talking about Eric Killmonger. And I get it. We want to make certain villains sympathetic, but we're not trying to make the Joker sympathetic. No, that's what that is.
Killmonger in the comics is not a nice guy.
No.
People identify people identify with Killmonger from the comic books because I didn't mean that, from the movies, because he was played by Michael B. Jordan, because Michael B. Jordan had some swag, and his overall goals were relatable, wanting to free quote unquote Black folks. But understand something, He was a villain in the movie. He killed his girlfriend unnecessarily. He, yoked up some elder because he was questioning him about burning the heart-shaped earth. You know what I'm saying? Just because
So he can keep the power for himself.
Just because he looks good to some people and is suave doesn't mean that he wasn't a villain.
Watch this. To your point, and I know some people might not remember New Jack City, but Wesley Snipes' character was not a sympathetic villain in New Jack City. No, he was a flat out villain.
Yes.
It's crazy. It's crazy to me when we look at the red carpet premiere of the movie to get you to love and to get you to fall in love with Wakanda, Black Panther. We got to first get you to fall in love with T'Challa. That's what Nate said. One of the most irresponsible things, I think, as a writer, you're introducing a hero that to some is new. They don't know this hero. So you have to set this hero up for success. That is not the time that you introduce a sympathetic villain. No, this hero needs to go up against a pure villain to distinguish themselves, distinguish the sides between right and wrong. If you have a sympathetic villain, and every writer knows this, you blur the lines to a degree between the hero and the villain to a point. At some point in time, the villain is going to become an anti-hero. That's not what should have taken place in the first movie. That's somebody who wanted to put their own name on it. And I like Michael B. Jordan. Hey, Creed is a great read. Listen, I love it. That was irresponsible.
Think about Batman Begins as an example. Ra's al Ghul was nowhere near sympathetic, played by the great Liam Neeson. Even though most of us know, even if you're not a comic book reader, 90% of the world who has access to information knows who Batman is. They may not know who Ra's al Ghul is, but they know that Batman is the hero. And when he went up against Raj, there was nothing sympathetic about him. Even though his goal in his mind, no villain really thinks that they're a villain. They have a reason behind everything that they do. And even though Raj thought he was justifiable in the actions in Batman Begins, it was clear. There was a clear line of demarcation between Bruce Wayne Batman and Ra's al Ghul. Going to Theo's point, in the first Black Panther movie, there was not a clear line of demarcation. It was merged. It was mixed simply because Michael B. Jordan said, "Hey, auntie," and was cool with it.
So as we move on in this issue, the most important thing was the introduction of the man we're talking about, Eric Killmonger. Someone had mentioned, the belt with the spike belt.
And that shag, that 80s shag.
Man, he had a Jerry curl before Jerry curl was a thing.
Boy, look.
Because this is 1973.
Oh wow!
My brother had a fro that laid down like it was dipped in deep in soul glow to the core.
Listen, if he wasn't showing up, I don't know who he before showing up.
Look, I think he looks like Eric LaSalle from Coming
to I didn't know what to think, and I still don't know what to think. Like, I don't know what the inspiration for this was. Like, I'm totally confused. I've been confused. I'm not gonna stop being confused.
That is a very unique look, especially for the time period.
Yeah.
For the 70s. Because during the night, was it 72, 73, brothers were rocking full fros. This is the heart of the Black Panther movement. And I mean the civic organization from Oakland. So this is a very, very advanced, for lack of a better phrase, look for that character.
I mean, he had some type of natural berries and whatever, fruits and oils. He put his hair, make that fro lay down on the back of his neck like that.
No bell bottoms for Eric. No bell bottoms at all. And folks say they want that
like Eddie Murphy from Vampire in Brooklyn. That's actually true.
Well, look.
There was a character from Spartacus the guy who played Barca, that's who I initially fan cast as Killmonger based on that look. Now, Michael B. Jordan's look was, it was good. It was updated. I like it. But I'm gonna send Paul. I'm gonna send you this picture of this dude, and you can see what I'm talking about when it comes to how he looked in Spartacus and how that character looks as he was drawn.
And this is T'Challa. This is back when T'Challa didn't have his vibranium suit. So dude, when he threw hands, and he got his ass kicked plenty of times in Jungle Action.
Yeah.
Usually at the hands of Killmonger.
Right.
Eric was cheating. Always got that damn Jaguar with his. Sorry.
I got he didn't fight fair. He didn't fight fair. He had a Jaguar with him. The Jaguar is tearing up T'Challa. He doesn't have the vibranium suit, so the Jaguar's clothes are tearing up his chest here.
Yeah. T'Challa should be scarred up for real, like legit scarred up. Look at the picture I just sent you, Paul.
And then we have this famous scene where he gets thrown off of Warrior Falls, which was emulated in the film.
Yeah.
T'Challa's first defeat.
I just wanted somebody to read. That's all. I'm not too mad. I just needed people to just read the book. I ain't gonna be too mad at Michael B. Jordan. Low key, that Eric Killmonger was the source of inspiration for the current hairstyle. So
right, that was the first thing I said. Very first thing. But see if you pull up that picture.
What did I tell you about sending me pictures and you're on the live?
Pull up the picture.
Why am I? I remember this guy.
This is who I fan cast as, in my mind, this is who I fan cast as Killmonger based on his.
Absolutely not. He's too light skinned.
Based on his shag and his height. Like he's very tall. He's like 6'2", 6'3", and Killmonger, the way he was drawn back then, seemed to be significantly taller than T'Challa, because T'Challa in the comics is listed around 6'1", 6'2". And Killmonger like towers over him, seems like. So in the books, Killmonger seems to be.
Is that dude even black? I don't. He's not even black.
Why they just didn't get Bishop from the X-Men movie to do to play Bishop?
Because he'd already been Bishop in the X-Men movie, and that dude doesn't speak English very well. Well, he has an accent, I should say.
He'd have been. He already rocked the shag and everything like that in X-Men. I think he would have. No, okay.
No, don't recycle. I'm recycling actors.
Bo Big says, "I never noticed the knee cutouts. What purpose did the knee cutouts serve on his outfit?"
I don't, man. Look, I don't. We got people saying they want that as an action figure, and I don't even understand that.
What is an action figure?
Eric Killmonger.
Yeah.
I'm gonna need some tips from you on the action figuring, on how to customize some action figures.
Oh man, listen, the wheel. You just gotta want to do it.
Those didn't look like locks, bro.
Those weren't locks, man. I mean, we could try to explain it away, but nah. That was a laid down fro.
Yeah.
He had that good hair.
My dog had a straight afro with the shag. Like he went from afro to just straight comb down in the back. Just nice.
I have one criticism on the Jungle Action run, if I may. Let me bring it up here. It's one of the reasons why I can't really rock with it being, my favorite run. Here it is right here. It bothers me that Wakanda's like the super advanced country And in its depictions, you have people literally
Mm.
still in the loincloths and living in
Mm.
huts. Now, mind you, now this is written and drawn by white folk who might not have done all the research or went to explore beyond what is stereotyped for what people viewed as Africa. I understand the country has never been conquered, but that's the point of it. The fact that Wakanda's history was never interrupted by the transatlantic slave trade is what allowed it to continue to develop and become as advanced as it was, even with the vibranium as well. To have them still in these huts is just, I don't know, it always bothered me.
Here's the thing, though. A lot of times cultures influence other nations, obviously, right? If they didn't have any outside cultures influencing them, how or why would they change what they've been doing for thousands of years? When you look,
because at this point, what separates Wakanda from other places is the fact that they have vibranium, and that increased their technology significantly. Now, I understand the argument that burning Zana, the Golden City, is like where all the uppity rich people lived, and they embraced the technology, and many of the other cities and villages may not embrace, Wakanda's technology, the vibranium, what have you. But still, just by osmosis to some degree, they would be beyond huts and spears at this point.
When
Watch it.
And then the reference, particularly to the story, is the fact that T'Challa's talking to his men about how do these people, how do these invaders have these guns? He refers to it as mechanical weapon. They will find the glade there in a mechanical weapon. I don't want to know where I want to know where the mountain dwellers got such a deadly device. You mean a gun? A rifle? I mean,
but again,
this part always bothered me. And this is what separates the subsequent Priest and Hudlin runs from this run. Because Priest did away with all that. He was like, you know what? Wakanda's super advanced. So when you see him go into Wakanda, you see skyscrapers and you see spaceship type of airplanes flying around, flying cars. I mean, there's the Afrofuturism element was introduced with Priest's run of Wakanda. And then with Hudlin's run, you had that element where Wakanda's taking its place in the larger world, and they flat out say it's the most advanced country in the world. And you have elements in the Priest and Hudlin run where Wakanda's poised to do World War III and take over the entire world if they so choose. You don't get that from the guys who were running around in loincloths out of huts chucking spears. I don't have that fear or thought process that these are people that could possibly take over the world.
As I was saying a moment ago, like back in the 1800s, China, as an example, was a nation that had its cultural heritage intact. Then when Europeans were introduced to China, the major thoroughfares, the major cities had the influence of the Europeans when it came to their culture, their dress, their architecture. The outlying regions would not be influenced by that. It would just be what they were accustomed to. And it's, the so-called poverty, even though the country itself is a rich nation. So although I do understand your point, from a real world perspective, I don't think that that's not uncommon.
See, Sierra says here, maybe the depiction is to make it seem like they live minimal lives and thrive. I could get that, but minimal lives and thrive would not mean that you live in the thatch hut. If you look at the ruins of ancient Nubia in the northern part of Africa, you saw buildings that, for all intents and purposes, by their standards, were skyscrapers. You saw castles like structures made out of clay and concrete.
But not every place in that community or in that nation would have that. That's the thing. That's
Even in Central Africa, you have places that do that.
You do have places, but in
it doesn't make sense that they're that advanced and they're still living in thatch houses, man. You can't.
America's considered one of the.
You're like trying to rationalize. You're trying to rationalize something that doesn't seem rational.
Goes. If you look, for example, in America, right? America's considered one of the advanced nation on earth. But then when you go to the Appalachian Mountains and people living in trailer parks, it's really no different.
Yeah, but even a trailer park is more advanced than a thatch hut and wearing a loincloth.
Not by much.
I think y'all both right. I think y'all both right. I can find great points in both of your arguments if I just go to the animation, the cartoon. To your point, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, they had a couple of episodes and everything like that. It was, Wakanda was supposed to be the most advanced. It lived in huts. But we come back, and that cartoon series, I think, is the best out of the two. I think everybody agrees with it. We come back to Avengers Assemble, a couple episodes, Ant-Man, Zemo. Now we got an advanced Wakanda. Not only do we have an advanced Wakanda in a couple of episodes, but we get season 5, which is dedicated to T'Challa, Black Panther, shooting and everything like that. And you still get the advanced city. Yeah, so I'm gonna say this. Damn it, both of y'all right. How about that? Both of y'all got valid points.
I don't mind showing that. I like the fact that you can have the burning Zana, which is super advanced, and you have those people that have rejected technology. Even the last writer who we don't like to talk about, when he introduced Tozin and his people, said there is the Marube people who have rejected technology. But they didn't reject vibranium, they just rejected technology. So they took the vibranium and went the mystical side of things, right? And that's how they approached their culture, but they weren't depicted as what you see in Jungle Action at the time. And that's the part that always bothered me about the Jungle Action run, is that it didn't try to step out of what is the stereotype of what Africa was depicted as being. All the negative stereotypes. It's.
I think if let's say if Wakanda was real, right?
Yeah.
Well, we've got the stories where the kings, the queens, Nahanda, Takana, they sent people out in the world. Well, while Wakanda would never have been conquered, hasn't been conquered, those people would have brought back information to them about what they have observed from the outside world. I would not be opposed to certain architecture or whatever being brought back to, and Wakanda taking it and improving upon it. To your point, the hut thing, no, that shouldn't have been how that was. That shouldn't have been how that was, because we're still dealing with a bad rap. People feeling like Africa is just this poor, downwritten country. And to a degree, that's because of the images that we, by and large, get. So right. I understand why it was written, drawn, portrayed the way it was for this particular, because of the time frame that we're in. It still don't make it right. It should have been just as advanced as if you and I, we would have been reading our science fiction comic books back in the day. Our science fiction comic books back in the day, Buck Rogers in the 25th century, or whosoever, they tried to give us an advanced, if it's an advanced civilization, that's the way they tried to paint it. So I understand they could have at least did the same thing for this, because I'm not the one saying that it's an advanced civilization. They telling me that.
I agree with Gordon's point here. He says the development of T'Challa was a process.
As the first capital city, because that's where in issue number 5, what do you have? You have that was a reprint of the Avengers book, but you have the Avengers coming to Wakanda, and what are they seeing? They're seeing the advancement of the capital city, where all of the trading and the government facilities are. So of course that area is built up and developed. For whatever reason, the advancements in the capital city didn't trickle out to these outlying areas. That's not uncommon. That's what I'm saying. In the real world, that is not uncommon. As I mentioned Afghanistan a moment ago, In the country of Afghanistan today in 2023, the capital city of Kabul will have skyscrapers. And by that, I mean buildings over 5 stories tall. In the outlying areas of Kabul, you'll have the equivalent of thatched huts. So again, that's not uncommon.
Okay,
In
so
real
let's ask this
world,
question. Let's ask this question right here. In this particular world,
Wakanda.
the capital of Wakanda would be more advanced looking than
Yes,
any other capital in any other place on the world.
yes. And it was.
Okay,
And it was.
okay. So if that's the case, and that's what that's supposed to be, then even the lowliest place on Wakanda, in Wakanda, that nation, the lowliest place should look more advanced than any of the other lower places throughout the world. If that's the, I'm just thinking it still should look more advanced than the lowest part of
But
Wakanda should look more advanced than the lowest place around the rest of the world.
right. But think about what we said earlier on in this conversation in that book is that those outlying areas, even though they're of the nation of Wakanda, they were ruled by their own people, by their own warlords, so to speak. So they may not have come to the capital city to see the advancements in the capital city and bring it back to the outlying.
I think after 10,000 years of existence, somebody might have traveled a little bit. I think it's unlikely that there was absolutely no advancements or influence from the more advanced societies of Wakanda, because it's a completely cut off society, completely cut off and insulated. It's a very small country. To say that some place that is literally just 20 miles away can have absolutely no influence on you, I think that's absurd. I don't think that's believable at all.
I understand the story, but if the story is isolated, that would ask, and good story, but that would be me saying, okay, so Sion didn't do nothing, T'Chaka didn't do nothing, Azuri didn't do nothing, Mtele didn't do nothing. Like that's I can't go that far. Like I understand why it's drawn this way because of the time, the year that they gave us this artwork. Right. But I do believe that
context is everything.
Absolutely. But I do believe if Wakanda, the Golden City, looks more advanced than the most advanced city outside of Wakanda, then the lowest city inside of Wakanda looks more advanced than the lowest city anywhere else. It just should. That said, I do understand why it was drawn like this. This is the time frame. This is early 70s. So I get it, but I understand why somebody could be bothered by it.
This was the original map that was done of Wakanda back in the day in Jungle Action. The map looks different now in the current Black Panther run, but this is the original map. Wakanda is tiny. Like, you're going to tell me that this little area over here that's only probably 20 miles away from this little area over here, those people couldn't just interact with each other over 10,000 years and get influence? That just doesn't seem realistic to me. It's way too small a country to be that much of a disparity between the super advanced people and the people that are more of the agrarian society. It's just too big a disparity.
One thing to consider is maybe they didn't want those advancements, because think about M'Baku. Think about M'Baku. He wanted to take things
no
back.
logical sense, Paul. That makes
M'Baku wanted to take things backwards. He wasn't agreeing with what T'Challa was doing, which is why
there's a difference between not wanting to be to engage with outsiders and not wanting to have penicillin.
Right, because then we would have to explain, because M'Baku's rationality doesn't follow the hyena tribe, because the hyena tribe and the lion tribe were trying to steal from the Golden City. So you got somebody that, well, I'm rejecting technology, but then you got a couple of tribes like, no, we want all the technology, and we don't even want to share it with you. No, we want to take what you got and take it back to our place.
So this may go to a failure of leadership. This may go to the failure of T'Challa and T'Chaka as kings. we're
Bro,
not
look,
getting not
you're really reaching too much on the rationalization. You have a hospital here. You've got these huts, right? You have huts next to a hospital. This is the central city. This is central Wakanda. This is Burning Zana for all intents and purposes. Here's the palace. Here's the Tranquility Temple. And what do you have surrounding everything? Huts, thatch huts. This is what I'm talking about. I wish they had been a little bit more creative and put a depiction of Wakanda beyond the stereotypes, the stereotypical depiction of spirit chucking people that wear loincloths and live in thatch huts. That's all I'm saying. It just doesn't seem logical for the most advanced country in the world. That's just my one criticism of Jungle Action. And note, and this is not a disparagement on the writer and artist. This is 1973. The depictions of the people themselves was still excellent. They weren't the what you saw in the 1940s and 50s of African depictions, and I'm very grateful for that. But it could have been improved a little bit more for my liking, which is what sets it apart from the other two runs. But we spent a lot of time on this run, and let's move on to the next run, which is Black Panther Volume 3, done by Christopher Priest.
This book was funny.
Which, the Volume 3?
Well, this is issue 2, Volume 3, the Priest run. Yeah. Everett Ross is hilarious. I forgot just how funny these books are.
My God, it's so well written.
It is. Yeah, Priest recently has kind of been. Some of his books aren't that good. His Superman Lost is very good. The writing on this is really good. And I like the narrative choice that he always makes is the story thus far. You know, catching us as the reader up to where we are in the storyline. You know, going into the book a couple of pages, you got T'Challa taking out some drug dealers. I know a lot of people like thinking T'Challa as some type of grander hero than he is, and he has had times when he has done grandiose things. But to me, T'Challa is a street level hero, and him, taking on these drug dealers, to me, just shows that aspect of it. But it was I like this book.
Yeah, I mean, rereading these issues to do these lives has been fun.
Yeah.
It has been fun.
Because I haven't read this book. Came out in '98. I have not read this book since at least 2000. It's been the longest time.
Theo, Sierra loves that picture you have behind you to your right of Chadwick Boseman.
Oh yes, my wife's recently departed brother and everything like that. He was an artist and he drew the picture of Chadwick Boseman. So my way, my brother never got a chance to meet us once we got married and everything like that. And so my way of honoring her brother and honoring the actor is to always have them here. He gets to be here, he gets to enjoy it, gets to be around family. So
that's what's up, man. Chad Kinsler says, just didn't like the way the T'Challa was drawn out of costume in the Priest run. That's your argument, Mark, that you don't like him looking like Shaft.
He looks like Shaft, no. Because I think Chad said earlier that he thought that he looked like a Wayans brother, and that's absolutely right. He looks like Kenan Ivory Wayans in A Low Down Dirty Shame. That's exactly what it looks like.
Shout out to Blurred Forever for the 4 quid super chat. Appreciate. Look, what time of day is it over there in England right now? I appreciate. I mean, I know it can't be good time for you, so I appreciate you watching us religiously in your off hours there. So, thank you, bro. Appreciate it. With that, he's got a question for you, Theo. Can I get Theo B's top 5 Black Panther writers, please?
Okay, this isn't in any type of order. I'm just going off of what I feel like, who made the biggest contribution. we already got the guy's comic book pulled up, so I can't act like we're not gonna do Christopher Priest. And because I don't wanna, I'm gonna say the other one. We just finished reading. So that I love the world building that Reginald Hudlin. I'm not gonna lie, I love that. I love that. So that's 2, right? We got Christopher Priest, Reginald Hudlin. And I think this guy gets slept on. We don't talk about him enough because we just say Reginald Hudlin and we think that's what that was. I gotta give a shout out to Jonathan Mayberry because
I knew you were about to say that.
I mean, I don't think we do. If Christopher Priest introduced us to the Dora Milaje, then I gotta say Jonathan Mayberry fleshed him out a little bit more. Before what's my sister name?
Roxanne Gay.
Before Roxanne Gay got to, because I love what she did to him too. So she would probably be the first one out or the last one in. But Jonathan Mayberry, I know. Okay, Ta-Nehisi Coates. I know how some people feel, but I love the Intergalactic Empire because that's something that everybody got an empire except us. Like, damn, can I get something? Can I get something? And he introduced some characters with it, some refreshing touches on some old characters. And then what I took away from Ta-Nehisi Coates' run, the Intergalactic Empire of Wakanda, to me, and I could be wrong, like I say, it's just my opinion. To me, that was him doing his retelling of the slave trade. It was a different take on it, but I sat back and I looked at it because we played a part. Okay, well, we played a part in what was going on with the originators.
Speak on it, bro.
What wound up happening? We all had to say, you know what? Africa is our home. We need to learn how to live on our land together, staying strong together, and get everybody the hell else up out of here. Because if we don't stand united, we're going to fall divided. That was what I took from that. I was like, okay, damn. And I got an intergalactic empire. Boy, shut the front door.
And what was the intergalactic empire at the end of that book? It was when all of the people united together to form a larger empire.
Listen, part of the reason why I've made it my mission to get damn near every Black Marvel legend I can is because of Ta-Nehisi Coates' run. We got to see, I don't know how many of us together, and what.
Go ahead and say it. Go ahead and say it.
That's a damn powerful sentiment for us to sit up and say, damn all the differences, damn where we from. We know where the hell we come from. It's Africa, and damn it, we finna hold it down. Whether we a villain over here, whether I'm a hero over here, whether you old up there, whether you young down there, whether you a female over here, whether you a male over there, whether you a heterosexual over here, whether you a member of the LGBTQ plus over here. All that matter is that you Black. We finna handle business for Wakanda.
Oh my God, Theo's preaching tonight.
That's all that matters. That's all that matters. I was down for it. I'm still down for it. So. Boy, look,
Black
I'm saying
Panther 24 and 25 had the most Black superheroes Marvel has ever had in a single book.
Wait, damn it. Let me put some stank on it. Damn it, he had Prodigy running stuff. Damn it, you got it. Go handle it.
Oh my God.
Ain't nobody getting no questions about nothing. He ain't have, you got this. You the smart one, go handle it. Ain't nobody say nothing. Damn it. Where McQueen's at? Go handle business over there. Okoye, like, you want me to do what? Sit your ass right there. You pulling the trigger. I'm sorry.
You want to talk about Black Girl Magic? Ain't nothing like seeing Monica Rambeau and Storm combine their powers to take out an entire army. Man,
come on, man. Like, okay, y'all got me. Well, listen, y'all got my juices pumping. Okay, damn. Okay, I'm coming
back.
Y'all
need to throw some respect on Coates' name. Black Panther 24 and 25 was endgame in comics for Black folk. Come on, man.
We ain't never seen that many damn Black superheroes in one damn comic book, let alone a couple.
Let alone a mainstream book, dude. Come on.
Yeah, let me go. Let me go.
That
Okay,
book
let me.
was phenomenal. I don't care what anybody says.
let
History will be kind to Coates on those two issues alone. I promise.
let me what I said. Y'all got me worked up here. Okay, so I got Coates. Damn. You know what? Because of the stake that he put on it, and I don't know if people are going to be able to appreciate it for what it is. You got to see where Don McGregor was, what type of writer he was, the projects that he was known for at that particular time, and everything like that. His ethnicity. For that guy to come along, and I'm just going. It was basically the way he wrote this. Actually didn't need pictures. Because that's actually the way he wrote this damn thing. You don't need pictures.
Who did you say?
Don McGregor. You don't need pictures. Like, that's the way he wrote it. Like, and for this to be the story that launched the character, like, I got who I got as them folk, but I gotta put Don McGregor in there. Now I'm saying that, feeling like, believing that Eve Ewing is going to give us some Dr. Eve Ewing. I'm sorry, doctor. I'm sorry. Oh, God knows if my daughter's gonna want to be called Crystal Simone Butler Esquire, I need to make sure I put doctor out there in front of yours. I believe she's going to give us something that Black Panther fans will love, appreciate, and be very, very pleased with. Like, I'm enjoying her run. So I gave you the 5. I believe she's gonna be right there. What Roxanne Gay did, I wish she would have gotten a longer run and everything, but she did some more world building in
So
regards.
what's the rundown so far? You had Priest, you had Hudlin, you had Coates, you had McGregor,
and Mayberry.
That's your top 5.
Yeah.
I also add to my top writers what G-Town says, Jonathan Hickman. Look, I understand that Jonathan Hickman wrote New Avengers, right?
Mm-hmm.
New Avengers was really Black Panther and his little friends. That's what that title was. That was Black Panther and his little friends.
Kind of like X-Men Red.
Their headquarters was the necropolis in Wakanda. Black Panther was leader of the Avengers in that. I understand that technically Volume 8 of Avengers is the first time Black Panther become chairman of the Avengers. Damn that. No. In New Avengers is when T'Challa became chairman of the Avengers. He took the leadership role. So y'all come down to my crib down in Wakanda, and we're gonna figure out how we're gonna save the world from these incursions. I love Jonathan Hickman writing. And by the way, for those who don't know, Jonathan Hickman's Secret Wars #9 is what set up the intergalactic empire of Wakanda, is what Coates drew from to set up the intergalactic empire of Wakanda. That was Hickman.
In Hickman's what is it, Ultimate Invasion, issue 1, they meeting up in the Necropolis. Like, he got them back up in. So he still put respect on that dude's name.
Hickman's one of the Black Panther writers, even though he didn't technically write a Black Panther book. Bo Big says, I love what Don McGregor did with Black Panther, even though I thought he was verbose or loquacious in his writing. Look, Don McGregor, what I love most about his writing is the fact that his writing was poetry. I mean, his description of things was incredible. I mean, it's almost like that could have been a simple novel, and you would have seen the visual images in your head, despite the pictures being done by Rick Buckler and later Billy Graham, the great Billy Graham. I hope Dr. Ewing gives Black Panther a new dimension of a power set. No, we can't have that, Captain Spring.
He doesn't need any new powers.
He doesn't need any more powers, and there's already those sect of people that are like, T'Challa's all superpowered. He's all overpowered, man. He's like Batman. He could do anything with prep time. And there's the sect of people that are like, T'Challa's way too OP. He got his power up when he became King of the Dead. And the one thing I think, Theo, I saw in one of your videos too, is the fact that the one criticism I would give is on Dr. Ewing's run is he mentioned something about his powers coming from the heart-shaped herb, but that's not where his current powers are from. His current powers are actually from Bast herself, and when he was made King of the Dead. So he has within him the knowledge and powers of every Black Panther before him, going back, I guess to 1 million, the Avengers Mosey, right? To 1 million
Oh,
BC.
yep, all the way back.
Um,
That's
that's a lot of power and knowledge.
now watch this. Here's the sad part. I was reading Karama Horn's book. Beautiful book, by the way. T'Challa's bloodline. I'm just waiting to see what Eve writing in issue 6.
Right, we're all waiting on 6.
Because if she say Wakanda is Mtele's father, because that's all I'm looking for, that takes T'Challa's bloodline all the way back to the king that came after Nahant. That's all I'm waiting for. That's all I'm waiting for. I'm just waiting on that one right now. If
That'd
they
be
give
dope.
me that, it'll take it all the way back to King Dajjata. Yeah, that's what it is. It'll take his bloodline all the way back to King Dajjata.
Theo, what were you just looking at? Were you looking at notes or a book?
Both.
Looking at. Hold that up
Jason
again.
Aaron's Secret Invasion Black Panther issues were great. Yes, they were.
I don't know if I have that.
Jason Aaron
Wanda,
actually does a good representation of Black Panther
yes,
as well.
yes, he does. Yes, he does. What made me get the book was doing that Wakanda series that you alluded to earlier. They quoted the book as canon, stating as to Mamadou Fall and Nahanda coming from the Jabari tribe, which they don't necessarily mention in Karama Horn's book, why they quoted it like that. So I had to apologize to Karama Horn because I thought she was mixing religions. And no, that is not what she says.
Yeah, I mean, we learned in the Wakanda series that the Jabari tribe and actually anyone who's not a member of the Panther religion, Bast religion, can become Black Panther and can become leader of Wakanda.
See, I don't know how that goes because okay, we got too many references of what M'Baku did. He didn't change religions. He was just the white gorilla sitting on the throne. And all
Azor, go ahead, man.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I said Azor B says if I was a superhero with high intelligence and money besides myself, I would have a think tank sitting around thinking up contingencies for villains and powers. LOL. Funny you should mention that during our segment regarding Christopher Priest, because ultimately, when T'Challa's faced with a possible war with Atlantis, you show that he has contingencies. Wakanda has contingencies for world domination, and that's pretty freaking cool. But dealing with this issue here, understand this is also a key, technically speaking, because it's the second appearance of Okoye and Nakia, and these characters are introduced. Zori as well. Nikki Adams, that's her name. Nikki Adams is Everett Ross's boss at the State Department, who was also T'Challa's girlfriend in college, which came up later on. So that's kind of interesting. But in this issue, we have the introduction of Mephisto. And I love, as Mark mentioned, the writing of Christopher Priest. The story thus far, 5 minutes before I was hunting Buster. Now, Christopher Priest, in his brilliance, I mentioned this last episode, he used Everett Ross as a plot device. He used Everett Ross to appeal to the mainstream. For those who are not familiar with the character of Black Panther, he used Everett Ross as the way to say, who is this guy? Right? And view him as the common, everyday comic book reader, mainstream person who may not be into Black comics or into Black Panther, what have you. And so he uses that voice. And he says, the story, 5 minutes before I was hunting Buster, the Jerry Seinfeld of lower income housing rats, while listening to Zori ramble on about Wakandan Kingdom's great history. The client, Black Panther, the king of Wakanda, had earlier tugged on a kitty cat mask, jumped out of a window, leaving me, Everett K. Ross, America's whitest man, alone in the Leslie N. housing project, which is right when the devil dropped by. There's not a single line in that little blurb that is untrue, inaccurate, and does not accurately summarize what's happened thus far. Just brilliant writing by Priest, man. I mean, it was funny.
It was really, really funny, but to be quite frank, this is an Everett Ross book.
Yeah.
I don't remember, like I said, I haven't read the stuff since 99, 2000 or whenever, but it is very humorous. It is very funny, something that I really like. But T'Challa takes second fiddle in his own story. We focus mainly on Everett Ross and his view of the world. This is an Everett Ross book. So that's for me, that's a criticism. Another criticism that I have about this book, obviously I like the Dora. I like T'Challa showing his strength, his intelligence, love the outfit. The Dora look hot, but this is supposed to be a Black Panther book.
It is a Black Panther.
It's supposed to be a Black Panther book, but it is mainly an Everett Ross telling a story. And for a narrative device to certain points, it's okay. But to continue down this line, not necessarily a fan of that. But Everett Ross is indeed funny. Somehow during his meeting with the king in this book, he ended up losing his pants. And that's all he's talking about is basically losing his pants. And it's funny. There's no other way around it. It's funny. But we're focusing too much on him and not T'Challa.
I disagree. I mean, I understand that there's a lot of focus on Everett Ross, but it is literally just a plot device.
We understand that.
To analyze who T'Challa is at this stage and reinventing the character by not looking at the character, by looking at it through someone else's eyes. You're seeing the reinvention of Wakanda, of Black Panther, and making him cool. And this is the scene that Marc's talking about, the pants. Everett Ross is sitting there without pants, and the devil's like, I'm going to gift you some pants to make you feel more comfortable. And he's like, oh my God, oh sweet Lord, I just sold my soul for a pair of pants. I'm wearing the devil's pants. This
was funny. It was really funny.
Priest is hilarious.
It is.
Let me ask the question. Are we saying the series Christopher Priest's run, or are we saying this particular story, this particular comic right here is more about Everett Ross?
Let me say this. Let me be perfectly clear. I've read these books over 20 years ago, probably around 20 years ago, right? So in full candor, I don't remember the stories the way that I do other stories. So now rereading these things, I would say that, these first two issues are about Everett Ross. I can't remember what happens in issues 3 through whenever before Casper Cole shows up. You know what I'm saying? So issues 1 and 2, these are Everett Ross stories talking about T'Challa. And I just did a count, right? This book has, 20 something pages. T'Challa is actually featured in only 9 of them, right? So that's kind of problematic to me in his own story.
I kind of want to be petty and be like, it ain't like we didn't see that happen his whole time in the MCU, but I feel like I'm a...
Well, no, I mean, that's true. T'Challa, that was another criticism of, Ryan Coogler and his directing style. He made his muse, Michael B. Jordan, the star of Black Panther, not the actual star. Going back to your point earlier that you made, it's supposed to be about the hero and his journey.
It is. I guess I can understand both sides, because I can understand, I can understand your feeling about it. I'm definitely not just trying to keep playing the middleman, but I also can understand why, okay, this is a new run, Black Panther. I want it to be successful. Okay, I understand by and large who the majority of the comic book fans are. Let me use Everett Ross to kind of like be the bridge between them and T'Challa. I did. Mr. Smith made me read this whole series. Mr. Smith and my brother, D-Real. So I can see where there are points, certain nuances in there where Everett Ross is telling the story, but there are stories where I've read where T'Challa takes the lead, which I've seen in other stories. Sometimes Jimmy Olsen has told the story. Tim has told the story. So, but I do understand your point, though. I wanted to make sure I did say that, Mark. I do understand your point.
Yeah.
So,
but it's a this book, to me, issue 2 is better than issue 1 because I'm looking forward now to reading issue 3. The way that this story was set up, because Mephisto is not known as a T'Challa villain. And again, I have no independent recollection of this run. So it's like, okay, why in the hell is Mephisto sitting in T'Challa's living room? Why is he waiting on him? I'm accustomed to Mephisto dealing with the Silver Surfer or Thor or other characters, not T'Challa. Why is he there?
Let me point out this one thing. I was talking about Wakanda's role in the larger Marvel universe. And, even in Priest Run, it says here, T'Challa was king of the most advanced nation on the African continent and possibly the world. Now, the difference between this and Hudlin's run, and one of the reasons I love the Hudlin's run, is Reggie Hudlin said, you know what? I'm going to make Black Panther and I'm going to make Wakanda A-listers. I don't care what's happened before. I don't care what's currently going on in comics. I'm saying, and I'm stating definitively, the Black Panther is an A-list superhero, and Wakanda is the most advanced country on the planet. That's one of the things I loved about Hudlin. I'm skipping ahead, but I just want to point out that little difference. This is a dope book. This is the book. This is the volume. This is the series that made the Black Panther my favorite superhero of all time. It was 1998. I fell in love with the Black Panther, and I have not looked back since. This was the series that made me fall in love with Black Panther. Absolutely love this run. Everything about this run.
Go back some. Go back. One more. No, go down some more.
Go down or go back?
Well, go down. You were scrolling. You scrolled down. Go to the previous page. I want
the previous page is different than scrolling down. All right, got it.
Whatever.
I mean, I know the English language is not your strong suit, but that's fine.
You know exactly what I mean.
I did not know exactly what you mean. Hence
y'all picking up the next version of this when Hasbro drop it in January.
What happened?
Y'all picking this up when Hasbro drop it in January.
What is that? Wait.
Where'd you get that?
How do you have? Oh, you customized that, didn't you?
No, this is the one that came from Toy Biz. This was the original Christopher Priest Marvel version of the Marvel Legend. We're getting the second version of it. But this was the first one and everything like that. So
well, that version looks better.
There are some people who feel that way.
Anyone objectively, hold it up again. Anyone objectively would say that's better than the one that's coming out. That's the Toy Biz version?
Yeah. There are some
that's
people
the version. That's the version that I want. That's the one that looks like this version we're seeing in the Priest run.
Yeah, this one was actually designed off of the Priest run.
Right.
This
now I've got to go online on eBay and see if I can find the Toy Biz version of Black Panther.
Listen, we're trying to get Eve Ewing her own version. That's the thing. We're trying to get that go ahead and made and everything like that. So.
I've already told you my feelings on that. I don't think there's any version of Black Panther that I want prioritized other than the one that's in Eve Ewing's current run.
Well, you know, Mr. Smith already got his version, so we're gonna have to.
You keep saying Mr. Smith. Who are you talking about?
Be Real.
No. D Real is D Real. No, Mr. Smith is another gentleman. He's 60. I want to say 60, if not 61 years old. Action figure collector. Brother. A great older brother for someone like myself to sit down and have conversations with whenever I'm troubled about something. A huge Black Panther fan. Absolutely is.
Ray Smith.
Yes, Ray Smith. I call him Mr. Smith.
Oh,
welcome, sir.
Yeah, that's him right there.
Okay.
So yeah, Mr. Ray Smith is already customized, and he, first of all, it started with Gray. it was Gray's idea. Gray had an idea, a concept, and then he came to me, reached out to me. I already had the action figure, because he had a Condor action figure at first. So I said, no, let's use this one. And Mr. Murray Swift went and got the accessories. He already had the action figure. He made it do what he did. And then shout out to Eve Ewing's artist, Dr. Eve Ewing's artist. You gave us that great
Christopher
issue
Allen.
#5. Issue 5 has the cover on it, has the pauldron or the shield on it. And I think he did it for those of us that would want this at some point in time. He has this thing front facing, not at any angle whatsoever. Mr. Shield, Mr. Smith copied this and put it on the shield. So thank you so much for this. We're gonna make use of it. Thank you.
Give that man a shield.
Yeah, we're gonna make use of it. So
Ray Smith, if you're taking orders, I'd like to place my order right now.
nah.
For that customized version of Black Panther, because that was outstanding.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Yes.
All right, so let's move on to our
Hold on,
last Black Panther.
Pull those pages back up, though. I want to point something out.
Huh? What?
The pages that you just had up when T'Challa, when they were ordering Chinese food.
Oh, all right. I've already closed that page. Mark, you're so difficult.
Dude, if you had done it when I told you to.
I'm sorry. I thought what Theo was talking about was more important than your.
Don't do that. You don't move in there like that.
All right, go back and reload the pictures. Black Panther Volume 3, Number 2. And what did you want now?
The pages that you were just showing where they were ordering Chinese food. I can't remember what page it is.
Ordering Chinese food. I don't know. This better be very impressive and important for you to make me waste all this time like this, but that's all right.
So all we're doing is
this page?
Yes, right there. All right, so on the right, on those two pages on those two panels that are on top of the screen, right? Everett Ross is trying to talk to this guy. They're ordering Chinese food, and he's basically talking Cantonese. Then you can see in the very next panel that T'Challa, without any type of interpreting device or anything, starts speaking to this man in his language. And that just reminded me of how in the Black Panther movie, it goes basically to show T'Challa's intelligence, right? He's at least trilingual. He speaks English, of course. He speaks whatever they do in Wakandan.
Hausa.
And then in this panel, you're showing that he speaks some Asian language. I don't know exactly what it is. But
it says it right there. It says translated from Tagalog, which is the language of the Philippines.
That's the language of the Philippines. It's
you
Tagalog.
should know you used to live there.
I did 2 years. So it's Tagalog. So basically, T'Challa is fluent in Tagalog for whatever reason. In the Black Panther movie, we saw how he, Nakia, and Okoye
spoke Korean.
Speak Korean, yeah. So that's one of the things that I do like is how they're showing in a very slightly subtle way how intelligent T'Challa is. And if you're not paying attention, it'll go right over your head.
That part right there. That part right there, if you're not paying attention.
All right. So we're going to move on to our next run on T'Challa, which I believe is Mark's favorite run. And now I can't find it. That's just outrageous. This is crazy.
Yeah, this is basically the Hudlin run. Issue number 2 shows how T'Challa took over as the Black Panther. During Challenge Day, he had to take on the current Black Panther, who was his uncle, right? And the dialogue in this book is almost word for word in the stop motion cartoon that is currently on YouTube. If you
let's just first talk about the fact that this issue is also a Black comic key. Let me rephrase. This issue is also a comic book key, period. No Black adjective necessary. This is the very first appearance of Shuri, which is an original Black character created by Reginald Hudlin in 2005. Prior to this, in 2005, there was never any depiction that Black Panther had a sister. There was a depiction that he had a half brother, Jakara, which was in the Kirby run, but never any depiction of him having another sister. So that was kind of cool, and that's what makes this a key.
Right.
This book used to, a couple of years ago, this book was going for $300 on eBay. I think now with the way prices are going, you could probably pick this up for about $60 or so on eBay.
Yeah.
Big drop, but that's because a lot of spec these days on comics has to do with the MCU, and for some reason, some people weren't as enthusiastic about Wakanda Forever, and thus the price drop on this book.
So in this book, you have T'Challa, whose mask going up against the current Black Panther on Challenge Day. And what you see on the pages of this issue is basically what you see on the stop motion cartoon that is on YouTube. All 6 episodes you can find on YouTube easily. And so
Yeah,
pretty much the first 6 or so issues of the Hudlin run have been animated, and what you find in the stop motion animation. I don't like this depiction of Ross though. Everett Ross is again makes his appearance in the Hudlin run after Priest created him. This Ross is more staid. He's more stoic. He's more businesslike. I actually liked the comic foil in the Priest run. This one, not so much.
Now, remember the depiction of Wakanda I showed you before? Remember I showed you that map of Wakanda where you had like the hospital and you had these huts, these thatch roof huts around it? Take a look at this picture here. Here's your major current modern structure here. And here you have your thatch roof houses. But notice, if you go a little deeper, look at what's on the top of the house. You got satellite dishes on the top of the houses, antennas on the top of the houses, and they're not little thatch roof houses that are on the ground. These are multi-layered structures. These are like multi-level structures. This is what I was talking about when I said it's okay to have sort of traditional African architecture or depictions, but modernize it a bit, show that they're more advanced. They can be culturally influenced by the fact that they've never been colonized by Western culture, but show the natural progression of an uninterrupted Africa that has never had the Western influence on it. And that's what you have here. That I appreciated this interpretation of what Wakanda would look like. This is what I was talking about, is in terms of I wish they did this back in 1973 with the Jungle Action run.
But in 1973, satellite dishes, as an example, were not prevalent.
Yes, but they certainly had television antennas, which you also see over here. Okay. I mean, it's just there are other ways that you can depict that this is more than just a mud and thatch hut. You and I are just going to disagree on this all day.
But again, I understand that, but looking at it, like you said earlier, it's context. In 73, they didn't have that stuff.
Speaking of context, I had a problem with this issue. And I think this problem is part of the reason why we find ourselves in the quagmire we find ourselves in right now. Shout out to Karama Horn one more time, because she gave 2 examples of Black Panthers laying down their sword, dropping their sword because the person couldn't beat them. That just wasn't gonna happen. You're not beating the Panther because you a regular human. There's a whole ass person over here that's been blessed by bass. The fact that
that T'Challa took down his uncle. Retcon, drop it. Uncle Sion was faking the funk. First of all, I don't know how Sion didn't know that was his nephew. You're the Black Panther. You had to have known that was T'Challa. Because you're a Black Panther. You can smell it. You know who that is. This is always, as much as the Huts justifiably bother Paul, this got up under my skin. Still get up under my skin. Because now we got folks talking about we would now strip the abilities of the. No, you won't. No, you won't. Stop saying that. Stop. Don't do that. You ain't stripping nothing away.
That was yet another Coogler creation that had no basis in the source material.
Are you talking about taking away the Black Panther's power so he's on an even keel with those who challenge him?
Yeah, you got to
go ahead. Theo.
You getting your inspiration from the Hudlin. It should have never been written like that. It should have never been that T'Challa comes in and he beats a superpowered human. Because if Sion can be beat, now I can write this story. Any old Joe Blow can just come in and beat T'Challa without nothing. That was part of the problem with Eric Killmonger when Don McGregor wrote it. You didn't tell us who the hell Eric Killmonger was, but we know who T'Challa is. Why is Eric putting hands on him? Because he big? No, you got to do something else with that. And they did. They said he was blessed with something. So yeah, they got to come back to fix this.
And see, that's one of the things that makes whoever beats the Black Panther, the sitting Black Panther, special. Because if you as a regular human can come in here and take on this enhanced individual and beat them, then yeah, you're something special. Making them on even keel, maybe not so much.
The other thing that made this issue special, as I said, I noted it was the first appearance of Shuri. Now understand, the Shuri that we see in this comic, here's our first depiction, the very first page and depiction of Shuri. This Shuri is not like the Shuri that you saw in the movie. She was not known as being the technical, electronic engineer genius. Not that she wasn't smart. That's not the issue. Her main character trait is that she was the hot-headed younger sister of T'Challa, who quite frankly felt she should be the Black Panther. This is her trying to make it to Challenge Day, getting around the guards. And her mother knows that she wants to become Black Panther. And her mother gave instructions to the guards to say, keep her locked in her room. I don't want her trying to challenge her uncle to become the new queen of Wakanda and the Black Panther. But she says, my brother isn't the only Panther in the family. I mean, they have the same father. She has every right to be the Black Panther, just like her brother does. And so she rushes out there, sees, and another thing, you see her cousin, Tashawn. Another addition from the Hudlin Rhine is the fact that T'Challa has cousins. We haven't heard much about T'Challa's cousins and other extended family actually since the Kirby run, where we had the Black Musketeers, T'Challa's cousins that are also part of the royal family. Any of these people can challenge. They're part of the royal line. They could all become Black Panther someday. And you see T'Challa tries to do it, gets his ass kicked, and Shuri's trying to step up, and it doesn't happen.
But here's the thing, though. In the Coogler movie, they made it seem as if anybody of royal heritage could challenge. In the Hudlin Run, anybody who lived there could come in and challenge.
Well, let's talk about that. I think there was a line that talked about specifically the royal line. Let me see if I can find that. Sort of ancillary. It not anyone, and not just anyone could challenge. It says specifically, the series of tests that a Panther must pass are so arduous that only candidates who've had special training from childhood can qualify. So it wasn't just anyone that could simply challenge. You had to have special training and series of tests.
Okay, but read the other
There was
page.
sort of like pre-qualification factors before you could step into the ring.
Okay, but the page before this says that the Black Panther is a hereditary title.
Right.
That's why that first panel is there. But when you look at the other panel, it says, but just so everyone gets a chance, once a
Well,
year.
you're right. So on the next panel right here, it says, but
When
just so
any
everyone gets a chance, once a
can
year there's
challenge
a day
king
when
for
any
the
Wakandan can challenge the king for the throne. So as royal lineages go, it's a lot more of a meritocracy than, say, England.
And this is Everett Ross talking to the cabinet in America. So as I was saying a moment ago, in Kugler's version of events, only royalty or people from a specific tribe can
Right.
come. But no, Hudlin established it that any Wakandan could come in and attempt to be the Black Panther. And
Right.
again, that's why I say that if you as a regular person can come in and defeat the reigning Black Panther who has special powers, then that means you in and of yourself are special.
Yeah, this big guy they said was probably a minor, so he's certainly not of royal blood.
I'm not understanding how that go, because every tribe has a different religion. Like I gotta look at it right there. They all pray to different deities.
Right. But see, right. So for the longest time, I was under the impression that unless you were a member of the Panther clan, you could not be the quote unquote Black Panther. You could be the ruler of the nation. You could be the king. You could be the spokesperson, but you could not be the quote unquote Black Panther, because also in this book, when Ross is talking to the American cabinet, he's basically saying the Black Panther is the equivalent of being the Pope, the Prime Minister, and something else. So in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, well, if you worship the monkey god and you beat the Black Panther, you won't then worship Bass. You will still keep your own deity, but you would still be the ruler. But that has been retconned in the Wakanda, that 4 or 5 issue Wakanda book, because in the B story, it had a list of individuals from ancient times who had become the quote unquote Black Panther. And they had a member of the Jabari tribe who was a member of the Black Panther.
You quoting this book right here? This is why I got it. It don't mention Mamadou Fall being a member of the Jabari tribe.
I don't remember names like
no,
that.
I'm telling you, because
Right.
I got the same Wakanda book. I'm telling you, the Wakanda book, Mamadou Fall, that uses this book as canon. This book does not list Mamadou Fall nor Nahanda as members of the Jabari tribe.
And that's fine. But there is in the Wakanda book, and with the backstory, one of those people they said is Jabari.
It's quote, and I'm telling you, Mark, stop. This book quotes this book.
Okay.
This book is the source for that story that you saw at the end. So if they got this wrong, because this book is using this book to say what you're saying, and this book don't say that. So they got that wrong.
I mean, they retconned it. That's the point that I'm making.
Right. And I'm telling you, if this book is quoting this book,
mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say it one more time.
No, I hear you, and I understand.
Yeah. If this book is quoting this book as the source material, then it ain't no retcon in this one. No, people make mistakes all the time. You got it wrong. Because in this book, the way Karama Horn wrote it, she says no. What wind up happening with Mamadou Fall is that the current king was under the spell of a young lady that had been reborn through the resurrection altar, and she was going to lead him down the field where they were going to be ran over by the hyena clan. Mamadou Fall, from a different subset of the Panther tribe, found out about it. He used the vibrations to mimic every time he struck him. Every time he struck him, he used the vibranium drums. The man's female, his woman, his lover, she died. When she died while he was fighting, he lost the will to fight. Mamadou Fall beat him and became the Black Panther. It mentions nothing.
So what you're saying though then is that in the Wakanda issue, the Wakanda book, that mentioning a member of the Jabari tribe becoming the Black Panther is incorrect, is what you're saying.
That is what I'm saying, because they quoted this book. Whoever did this, they didn't quote this book right. And that is the reason why I got this book, because if you're going to say it's canon, then damn it, I got to go find it. I got to read it just for me to be on my high horse trying to figure out how did Karama Horn do that, and Karama Horn didn't write that.
So what is more canon for comics? A
Comics
book that
or
was
I wouldn't have never not watched
or the
this.
comic itself.
I wouldn't have never used this to quote that, but that's what they did. I'm with y'all. That we ain't ever got to push back on that one. I would never quote this, use this as a reference point for this. I'm not gonna quote this because it's not common. I'm with you 100%, but that's what they did. Well,
okay. So if they made that mistake is now canon. That's the thing.
That's the thing. Mistake is now canon.
Yeah. Just like
some comments here about Shuri. To me, in the MCU, it felt like they gave Shuri T'Challa's smarts and left him with the combat skills.
A lot of people think that.
That's exactly what they did. When Shuri became Black Panther, she was a hothead. As G-Town Comics says, this Shuri has fire. She was a hothead. T'Challa would be the one who would be like, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't attack Atlantis. Maybe we should take a more measured approach. And Shuri's like, nah. That I hear you, bro. I hear you. You're not king anymore. I'm queen. But yeah, we going to war. I want blood. That was Shuri in the comics. Prior to the MCU introduction of Black Panther and that version of Shuri. It was that version of Shuri that ended up influencing the comics. Because remember, you might have heard me say in a live a few weeks ago, the MCU is what Marvel really is now. It's not the Marvel Comics as a source material for the MCU. Marvel Comics is now simply promotional material for the MCU. So what happens in the MCU becomes the canon more so than the comics itself, which is backwards. And that's why they retcon in the comics events that happen in the MCU, as we see with Ms. Marvel, even as we talk about the Marvels.
And I think I heard that Kevin Feige has now been placed over or in charge of Marvel comic books. So
yeah, he's in charge of Marvel properties.
Yeah.
So
Hopefully
you're going to see that integration and synchronization between what he decides to do in the MCU because he thinks it's cool, and what the comics are then forced to retcon as a result of those changes.
Well, I'm hoping he go ahead and go on over to Star Wars. I'm hoping he go ahead and go on over there.
No, I don't. I think he's doing well over here.
He didn't brag about being.
Dave Filoni needs to be in charge of Star Wars.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying he bragged way more about being knowledge about Star Wars and Indiana Jones and stuff like that. So I want him to be great. I want him to be great. I want him to be able to do what he want to do. He a big fan of Star Wars and Indiana Jones. Man, God bless you. Don't make that do what he do.
G-Town Comics is right. I believe only those in T'Challa bloodline can ingest the herbs unless that's changed. As far as I know, that has not changed. And in the
not so fast.
In the comic books, historically, only those of the royal bloodline can ingest it without being poisoned. If that's changed, because I want to say it's been grown in soil tainted with vibranium, so they've developed an immunity to it. If and when that's changed, I'm not familiar off the top of my head.
Well, fortunately, this is the Black Comic Lord, so we tend to get ourselves familiar with these subtle little changes. There is an issue in which that sort of brings that into question. Let me see if I can find it. This actually requires a slight degree of research. Give me 1 second. Crap. Is it friendly? There's an issue of Spider-Man in which Spider-Man goes to Wakanda. And it's actually written by Reginald Hudlin. Reginald Hudlin. And in that issue, Spider-Man's injured, and T'Challa offers Peter Parker some of the heart-shaped herb, and says, this will help you heal a lot faster. And he's like, wait, isn't this like poisonous to people who are not supposed to take it? And T'Challa's like, yeah, you'll be fine.
Yeah, he'd be like, Bass has deemed you worthy, or words to that effect, or something like that.
Something
She's
like
deemed
that.
you worthy. Yeah.
Which kind of makes you wonder, is it that it's truly poisonous, or maybe the exception for Spider-Man is that he's already superpowered and he has somewhat of a healing factor? So T'Challa was able to surmise that he'd be able to tolerate the heart-shaped herb.
I would say that because Peter Parker has a healing factor, that's probably why he would be fine versus your regular everyday person. That would be my guess. Steve Rogers would possibly be fine as well.
Might be a connection to, we don't talk
it was
about
it was in this story. Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man #1 and #2.
So this might be the storyline. The storyline is called The Other.
Specifically, I think it was #2.
Storyline. It's about 12 years across Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man, and another one. I can't remember the other title that it was, but I haven't read that book since it came out. And I'd have no independent recollection of that aspect of it. But Peter Parker does have a healing factor, so that probably plays into him being able to take it. So I would go with G-Town saying that regular people, everybody else, no, they cannot, or else they would be poisoned. And in the comic book, in the movie, the reason why Killmonger would be able to take the heart-shaped herb is obviously because he's part of the royal family.
I'm going to try to find the actual page where it does.
He's a spider totem. Maybe a Nazi blessed him too. I'm joking. We'd like to see that get explored, though, since Anansi is of African descent. But
yeah, here it is. So this is Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man #2. And here's T'Challa says, our final effort says, thanks, but I'm not really a salad man. Maybe if you had a burger with it. These are the heart-shaped herbs. They are a special plant found only in Wakanda. Only a warrior proven to be worthy of being the king can ingest them. They give the leader of the Black Panther clan his special abilities. Oh, then why am I allowed to eat them? I mean, I'm not. He goes, you are a warrior with the heart of a king. Dig in. That was the only explanation he gave. He didn't say anything about special powers or anything like that. One could say that T'Challa might have been speaking in, sort of generalities in saying that he's a warrior, what have you, but really referring to the fact that he's powered and he has a healing factor. But we don't really know. But, in answer to your question, the person who posted this, is some ambiguity as to whether or not eating the heart-shaped herb would really kill you. Now, I understand where that comes from. There was a solo, I think it was a solo Avengers issue, where Black Panther is on this island and this guy tries to get the heart-shaped herb from him and he eats it and he ends up dying because, comics. And that's where that comes from. But it's a little ambiguous at this point as to what happens when the common person ingests the heart-shaped herb. Even Eric Killmonger ultimately died when he tried to take it. So we don't know.
I don't think there's an ambiguity there then. Yeah. That one book, that people who are Black Panther fans may not have or even know about doesn't, in my mind, change the whole, 30, 40, 50 years of comic book lore that nobody outside of the royal family can ingest it.
Can I mention one last thing, just as an aside, about this particular issue that I've always enjoyed? The fact that Wakanda has a temple dedicated to the god Anansi. It says, this is the temple of Anansi, the spider god, your namesake. Wow. And it goes, not to be insulting, but the last time I entered a temple like this, somebody tried to use me as a human sacrifice. You're right. It could happen here too. Let's head back. Ha, good one. They never actually take Spider-Man into the temple of Anansi. And I just thought this was such a horrible tease by Reggie Hudlin to do this to me. The fact that, and I'm a big Anansi guy, the fact that Wakanda is shown to have a temple of Anansi within it, and you bring Spider-Man there and you don't have him go in and see what happens, commune with the spider god from which his powers flowed. I just thought this is an unexplored storyline that really should be explored sometime in the future. I would love to see Miles Morales go back to Wakanda and visit this temple and have the spider god say, hey, you're one of my acolytes because your powers really come from me. Just as an aside. But that's just me.
I like that. Still kind of want him to change his name a little bit, but
Richard Wright's got trolling vibes going on right now. Can we have a moment of silence for the MCU?
Ain't it's Friday? Oh, he said, can we have a moment of silence for the MCU? Oh, Lord.
G-Town says, I believe Casper Cole ingested the herb, but not the same.
I think it was
synthetic.
Yeah. It wasn't the real deal.
Got it from Eric.
Yeah. All right. So those were our Black Panther issues. We're going to take a short commercial break, and we'll come back and check out the other reads of the week and get into the movies and television shows we've watched this week. So with that, we're going to take... where's... Gosh darn it, Derek. You're making things so damn difficult. Here we go.
This week in Black History, Black Comic Lord celebrates the artistry of Dennis Cowan. Dennis Cowan is a comic book artist with a flair for naturalism. If I didn't know any better, I thought the brother lived and breathed in brick-walled alleys, inhaling the pollution of the city streets and exhaling with pictures of agony and anguish. You see, it's hard to describe Mr. Cowan's art, so I'm forced to use a ghetto analogy. Dennis Cowan art is like fish and grits. It's not first on the menu, but you're glad you spotted it. Visually, it tastes good and your eyes will be filled. Yes, filled, I say, filled with detail. They say the devil is in the details, but Dennis be like, hold my beer, because the brother crafts scenes and faces where it makes you wonder, did he miss anything? Each panel is filled with action, and though pictures cannot physically move, Dennis Cowan shows and proves that they actually can. From Batman to The Question to the Black Panther and others, Dennis Cowan's art speaks like Terminator X speaks with his hands. That makes him a bad man and worthy to be celebrated. Salute the living legend that is Dennis Cowan, a Black history legend. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And until next time, peace.
Oh man, my bad. Y'all was jamming. I was joking with y'all. Y'all, damn. Y'all be damn. Y'all, anyway, sorry. Y'all be jamming.
Shout out to Dr. Wizard, the Imperious Flex, who makes our puts together our video interviews.
Listen.
And OG King Richard the Panther Hardy for doing the narration on that. Excellent work.
Oh, I love the deep voice. Man, thank y'all so much. I had promised the missus that I was gonna, do the high five.
quality time thing. And yeah.
Where do you live, man? I forget. Where do you live?
Tallahassee.
Tallahassee, Florida.
Okay. Are you going?
Yeah.
Oh, you're a Georgia fan, so you're not going to the game tomorrow anyway.
That part right there. That we gonna be right here. Besides, it's easy to use the bathroom when you at home as opposed to being in the States. But yeah, man, thank y'all so much, man. I really did appreciate this, man. It is always a blast talking about T'Challa with people who care about T'Challa. Y'all hit up Mr. Ray Smith because we trying to do something about these action figures.
Hey, do me a favor, man. Take a picture of that book that you held up and tweet it to me.
Oh man, you ain't saying nothing now, man. I get this on over to you right now. Once again, thank y'all so much. I'm gonna take a picture of this and I'm between.
All right, man. See you at the end.
Ray Smith, I need to hook up on that T'Challa. If you're taking orders, I'd like to place an order.
Thank y'all so much, man. Y'all have a great evening. Black Comic Lords, thank y'all so much.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you for being here. All right. So here's our pull list for the week from League of Comic Geek. Let's take a look what we have here. We're not going to go through the full list, everyone, but here's the books that came out this week that were noteworthy. Abbott, 1979, number 2. Empath, number 1, from our boy Brian Hawkins. Happy birthday to Brian Hawkins, by the way.
Yeah, his birthday was yesterday. I think he turned 45, if I'm not mistaken.
Happy belated birthday. First issue of his new book, Empath, came out this week.
I don't know that was at my comic book store. I'll have to check on Monday or next week, but I don't recall seeing that.
This is why you're supposed to pre-order your comics so that you can get the books that don't show up on the shelves.
Mm-hmm.
Gods, number 2.
Really like this book. I like this book a lot.
Yeah.
But I don't know why is this one featured. Is that girl black? She didn't look black to me.
That I don't know. The one at the bottom here, not the one in the back.
No, I understand that, but I read the issue, and at no point in time did I think that character was black. So I'm just curious as to why it was.
I don't remember.
Here.
I haven't read the issue, but that came up on our list. House of Slaughter, 19. Icon versus Hardware, number 5. We're going to talk about that in a sec. Scorch, number 23. Star Trek Defiant, number 9 is black adjacent because it's got black Klingons. Yeah, I said that. I don't want to talk about it. Star Wars The High Republic, number 1, which has a black lead, Miss Keeve Trennis. This is a dope issue. These last 2 issues I also want to talk about. What If Dark, The Tomb of Dracula, number 1. This is what if Dracula bit Blade. Now, Blade, we understand, has an immunity to vampirism, but what if he didn't? What if he didn't? That's kind of what the story talks about. And he is converted into an actual vampire. What would happen to Blade? That's what the story talks about. And then X-Men Red, number 17. So let's go back to this issue right here. Icon versus Hardware, number 5. Did you read this?
Without giving any spoilers, yes, I did read it. Read it today. Again, no spoilers. Well, first things first, they had 2 different artists in this book, in this issue. You had Dennis Cowan on the second part. You had Yasmin Flores
Montanez.
Did she do the Wonder Woman, Wonder Girl books? The name sounds familiar to me.
No, but she did work on some other Milestone books. She was in the what's it called? The Milestone Talent Showcase and the 30th anniversary book. And she also did some other Icon versus Hardware
Off
stuff.
the top of your head, do you know if she did anything over in DC? Off the top of your head, you know?
She has done some DC work as well.
Yeah, I recognize the name. I'm just going to be frank. Was not impressed with her artwork in this. It seems more juvenile. This seems like the type of artwork that you should have maybe in Moon Girl or Ironheart or something like that for this title. wasn't impressed. I did like Dennis Cowan's art in this. First and
Yeah, it
foremost,
was. I would say that her art style in this particular book, she's a good artist. We actually interviewed her on this channel, but I don't think the art style that she used in this book was complementary to what you saw with Dennis Cowan's art.
right. And again, when I say for this book, I'm not suggesting that she is not a good artist. You know, anybody who can draw more than a stick figure is a good artist, because that's all I can do. If you can do more than me, you're good at it. She's a good artist, but I personally did not like her art style in this title. As I said a second ago, maybe for Moon Girl or something more juvenile, or geared towards a tween crowd, yes, but not for this book. I'm not a fan of the hardware character. I've said that before. This particular issue, frankly, for me, was somewhat underwhelming. And again, I'm not going to go to any spoilers for those who may not have read it yet. This one left me cold. And what's crazy is the last issue, issue 4, I think came out in August, and then here we are, 4 or 5 months later, and we're getting issue 5. I don't know what's going on over at Milestone, but it took forever for this issue to come out.
Yeah, look, I'm the biggest Milestone fan in the world, just unabashedly.
I like that variant.
Yeah, I have this variant on order. Shout out to Meach Doodle. This issue was a bit disappointing for me. As Marc just pointed out, I thought that Ms. Montanez's artwork on this particular issue was not complementary to Dennis Cowan's art on the same book. And the story seemed a bit rushed. And then it ends on a cliffhanger with a great reveal on the last page, in the last panel.
Which is cool.
But there's a difference between having a cliffhanger and having an unfinished book. And this felt more like an unfinished book than simply a cliffhanger. It was not. There are things, without getting into spoilers, there are things that happen with the character of Rocket, which seems a little out of left field, a little out of character. A decision's made that changes the character significantly and her status, and it's not something that you would expect, which is not bad, but I wish there was more development to show that this seems like a logical step, and I don't think it was really all there. We do see some more of the love. What are they called? Not the love movement. That's the
team or something. It's a stupid name. I'm just gonna. It's a dumb name. I don't.
Well, only in the fact that they haven't explained what it means. I mean, you would think it's part of a movement or something, but I don't know because they haven't really explained it. They left everything in it. I think that's ultimately the problem I have with this particular series. Is there's the introduction of so much, but you don't get the explanation of it. This is the final issue.
It's called the Love Core.
The Love Core. This is the final issue, and I don't know if there's going to be any more issues. That kind of pisses me off as a diehard Milestone fan, because I want more, and I don't know if we're going to get any more because a lot of y'all don't buy the book for some reason. I don't know why. Complain all the time. There's no original black characters. Lots of them in these books, but there's a lot of hanging, dangling threads with a lot of unanswered questions. And this is the final issue of this particular volume, and I'm left very dissatisfied as a reader, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it was. Obviously, I like Reginald Hudlin. He is my favorite Black Panther writer. I don't like the hardware character as a character. Icon, I have no issues with, but just this title itself was not particularly that good, in my humble opinion. I absolutely loved Static. There was another one that I liked from Milestone. I can't remember what were they called? That team called? I can't remember right now. But at the end of the day, Milestone has put out some good stuff that I have enjoyed. Icon and Hardware, not so much. Icon and Rocket, I liked when that dropped a year or so ago. This one, Icon and Hardware, wasn't a fan at all.
Big shout out to Bo Big, $10 super chat. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. Really helps us out. We might actually be able to keep the show going a little bit longer with that. So, with that, give you the super chat. Appreciate you. All right. So, on a scale of 1 to 5, what are you giving this book?
A 2. I didn't like it at all. There's nothing about it that I found redeeming.
I was disappointed. The covers are great.
I'm sorry, say that again?
I said the covers were great.
Oh, yeah. This cover is phenomenal, and I like that variant cover. I guess this is the A cover. Yeah.
A cover looks like it should be the variant, incentive variant by Raza.
Yeah.
This is beautiful.
Nice. I like
Raza's incredible.
Yeah. I just wasn't impressed with it at all. The story just, and I don't like the way Icon is portrayed or drawn. Like, like I mentioned how I wasn't a fan of how T'Challa was drawn in the Priest run. I'm not a fan of this version of Icon. My favorite Icon version is the one from Justice League Unlimited. Love that version of him.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish I could say more, man. I really love Milestone so much, and this issue was honestly very disappointing for me.
It was. You asked me, what do you give it?
Probably the same, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, the overall all 5 issues. There were some interesting topics.
It started out great.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. Like, this isn't a spoiler because these books came out months ago. But long story short, Hardware went back in time. He did away with the transatlantic slave trade. He made the continent of Africa pretty much the seat of power on Earth, and it was very well done. But he broke the time stream, so to speak. So there's a lot of time, wibbly wobbly time stream stuff that he broke, and that was interesting. But overall, the title itself was not really that good.
Yeah, I mean, I think what makes it worse for me is I know this is the last issue. If I knew that there was more issues coming, I'd be like, all right, well, they're building to something, and I'm really excited to see what happens next.
And they could redeem themselves.
Huh?
And they could redeem themselves.
Right. If I knew there was more issues coming,
if there are more coming,
and that they're gonna finish off these threads, then I would have a much higher rating. But this is the final issue, and I'm like, what? That's it? That's how you're gonna leave this? That's not cool, man.
And Pericles is right. I apologize. It was Young Justice. Icon made an appearance in Young Justice, I can't remember when, but he made an appearance in there, and the way he was drawn there was very, very regal looking. I really did enjoy that. Yes, Young Justice, not Justice League.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to the next book. This is a book that
X-Men Red is really, really good.
Oh my God.
Spoilers.
X-Men Red. Can we just give a shout out to my boy Al Ewing? Al Ewing, as I've said before, gets a plate from the cookout. Even if he doesn't get an invite to the cookout, he gets a plate with aluminum foil from the cookout. This brother's depiction of Storm is unparalleled in Storm's history.
Yeah.
Understand, Storm has been around since 1975.
Yeah.
And Al Ewing's portrayal of Storm is the best I have ever. I've been reading her since the 80s. She's one of my favorite comic book characters. And Al Ewing's portrayal of Storm is by far the best I have ever seen. It's not even close.
I like the Claremont version back in the 90s in the
Claremont's version, I could point to you a half a dozen really cringy things that Claremont did with Storm.
And that's fine, but I like that version. I'm not discounting what you're saying about this version of Storm, but I did like what Claremont did back in the day.
Agreed. I mean, Claremont's version is what made me fall in love with the character. Yeah. I'm not trying to disparage Claremont, but so there are certain things that were done that didn't age well. But yeah, Claremont's run is the definitive X-Men run, in my opinion. Chris Claremont, although he did not create the Avengers, he redefined them in a way that it almost like he created the Avengers. It's kind of like for me with Christopher Priest. He didn't create Black Panther, but he redefined the character in a way which almost makes it seem like he created the character.
You said Avengers. You mean the X-Men?
I meant X-Men.
Okay.
So yeah, Al Ewing, ever since he's been writing Storm, first in Sword, and then that became X-Men Red, let's call this book what it really is. I talked about Jonathan Hickman and his new Avengers run really being Black Panther and his little friends. This book is X-Men Red is Storm and her little friends.
Yeah.
That's the real title of this book. Unfortunately, we can't get a decent Storm book. We just had one written by Ann Nesenti, which was, in my opinion, trash.
Yeah, it was a retcon. It was not good.
It was not good at all.
Good.
This is really a Storm book. They didn't put the name Storm on it, probably because for marketing purposes, they realized some fanboys aren't going to buy a book called Storm. So they call it X-Men Red instead. But between me and you, this is a Storm book.
For those who don't know, who may not have read or are not reading this book, basically, currently there have been different X teams. And on this X team, Storm is the clear, unabashed leader of this X team. And it has been good. Now, what I like about this is Apocalypse. Apocalypse for years has been the villain to the X-Men and in the Marvel universe. They have him, Apocalypse, showing powers and abilities that I'm not accustomed to him having. And it's been interesting in this particular issue. It is a powerful issue, no pun intended. And if you're reading it, you'll see what I'm talking about. But it is a good issue. The X-Men Red is, in fact, a good book. There was a Storm series in around 2011, maybe. Not the one that came out by around the time that Storm married T'Challa. Not that one. There was another one that was about 12 issues, and I bought all of them recently, but I haven't read them yet, so I don't know how that one is.
You bought all of what recently?
There was a Storm title that had about 12 issues that came out in the, I want to say, early or mid 2000s, and I'll tell you here in a second. And it was a 12-issue limited series, and I bought them. One of the comic book stores I go to had a package deal, so I bought all of them in one sitting. But I just haven't gotten around to reading it yet. But the one that's been coming out recently, volume 3 or 4 of Storm, it just wasn't good. It was a story set back in the day when Storm had the Mohawk, and it was telling stories of her back then. So that's Storm Volume 4. Volume 3 is the one that I'm talking about that came out in 2014. Had 11 issues in it. It may or may not be good. It was written by Gregory Park. Victor Ibanez seems to be the artist on it. I have no idea what the storyline is. What I will say is that Storm Volume 2, that was written by Eric Jerome Dickey in conjunction with the Black Panther storyline of the two of them getting married, really, really, really like that one. Really like that one. That was Volume 2 that came out in 2006, and it was about 4 issues. That one was pretty good, but it was 6 issues. I'm sorry. But the one that just dropped, not good at all. But if you are a fan of the Storm character, X-Men Red is the book that you want to get.
Yeah, just as a aside, the book that you're referring to, the volume was I think I've got it here. This one. Storm Volume 3.
Yes, that's what I said. Yes.
Yeah, this is that run.
Yeah.
It's a great run. Art
I
was
like I
spectacular.
bought it several months ago. I just haven't gotten around to reading it yet.
She's kind of the premier black superhero who can't ever seem to catch a break and get her own run.
Okay, so here's a question that I have. The Eric Jerome Dickey run of Storm in 2006 is listed as volume 2.
It is.
What's volume 1?
Her first run? Yeah, I can show you that.
Because I'm not familiar with that at all.
You should have
Volume
it.
4 sucks. Let me just say that. Do not pick up volume 4. You'll be wasting your time and money.
I regret the issues that I have.
I don't remember that. What year did that come out?
This came out in February 1996.
Oh wow.
This is actually low key. This is a black key. This is a comic book key. Let me stop saying black key. This is a comic book key. This is Storm's very first solo title.
Mm-hmm.
The very first issue of her very first solo title. If you are a Storm fan, you need to have this issue in your collection. This cover is done by Terry Dodson. Beautiful cover.
4 issues, so you should probably get all of them.
Yeah. And they're not expensive at all.
Yeah.
4-issue series.
Yeah, I have no independent recollection of that.
But yeah, I mean, just briefly, let me talk about this issue with X-Men Red, number 17. I don't want to give spoilers per se, but the cool thing about Al Ewing is he really loves the character, and he does his homework and he does his research, and he knows this character. He knows her background. And I really want to show you the pages, but I don't want everything I would show you would be a spoiler. But suffice it to say that there was a Scarlet Witch issue. So I think it was Scarlet Witch number 2, which talks about the connection that Storm has to her mystical side. The fact that she has this mystical side, she has this magical side that dates all the way back actually to a New Mutants issue, in which the New Mutants go back in time and see Storm's ancestor, Asake, from ancient Egypt, who's also a sorceress.
Which New Mutants volume? The first volume of New Mutants, or one of the more recent ones?
It was the first volume of New Mutants.
I don't remember.
And shows that Storm has this lineage, this sorcery lineage, this magical lineage, and he's redefined her powers and said, look, she doesn't control weather. It's a very oversimplistic view of her power set. Storm can manipulate the forces of the primordial forces of energy in the universe, whether that be storm patterns or cosmic energies, because later on we see Storm out in space and she's able to manipulate cosmic energy. That's one of the reasons why she's an Omega level mutant. Is she's not simply a weather manipulator. She is a energy manipulator. And he says that that powers aren't simply mutant based; they're also sort of magical. And really cool scene where Apocalypse is tapping into mutant energy, mutant magic, and he puts Storm in the center of it. He shows lots of respect and deference to Storm's abilities. I just think this is a really cool issue. I don't know if I'd call it a key, but certainly a noteworthy issue if you are a Storm fan to have this in your collection, simply because you see Storm use her powers in a way that has never been seen before, in a completely magical way. I really love this issue for that reason alone.
I think she's going to be making an appearance in the next Thor issue. And I'm trying to find
Yes,
that
yes, she is. I think I told you about that.
What's crazy though is I have them, but I'm on my IMDb app and it should be Thor Volume 7, but I don't have it in here. So it must be going under a different name,
Let me
but I'm
see.
not sure. That's interesting. So I have to go look here in a second. But if you are a comic book collector and you want to keep track of what you have in your collection, I've mentioned it before, I'll mention it again. CLZ Comics app. I think it's like $15 a year. Worth it. Definitely get it. It helps you keep track of everything that you have and the things that you need. So CLZ Comics app. But yeah, if you are a Storm fan, the very next issue of Thor, I want to say maybe issue 4 or 5, not sure. But whatever the next issue of Thor is, she's supposedly in that one as well.
Yep. All right. So the other, let's see, issue I wanted to talk about, final issue I want to talk about was this. What if Dark, Tomb of Dracula #1? So the idea of this story, Marv Wolfman, who was one of the co-creators of the character Blade in Tomb of Dracula, returns to the storyline that he did in the character he co-created and asked the question, what if Dracula transformed Blade the Vampire Slayer into a vampire? Now, we already know that one of Blade's abilities as a damn fear is that he's supposed to be immune to the vampire bites. But the question becomes, if Dracula, who's kind of the pure blood, so to speak, were to have one of his direct progeny bite Blade, or Dracula himself were to bite Blade, would he transform into a vampire? And that's what this story talks about. Blade becomes a vampire, and you see him use abilities that he's never demonstrated before. And the question is, does he become an evil vampire? Does he ultimately become a hero? And that's what this story talks about. What's also interesting, if you're a Blade fan, is that you see Blade as he is portrayed through the ages. You see him in his original portrayal in Tomb of Dracula #10, where he has his brown jacket and the green sunglasses and the stakes on his chest. And you see him in the various incarnations and various costumes he's had over the last 40 years as he's going through the ages. And that's kind of cool to see as well. I think if you are a Blade fan, you will enjoy this issue just for that. Just for that.
If Dracula bit Apocalypse, do you think Apocalypse would turn?
Dracula what?
If Dracula bit Apocalypse, do you think Apocalypse would turn?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, Apocalypse is, thousands of years old, and his mutant powers are kind of vast. I don't know if his body would be able to reject the vampirism virus or whatever it's called.
That's an interesting thought.
But anyway, those are our reads of the week. And so now we move on to our TV watching for the week. And the most prominent show to come out this week is clearly Loki Season 2, Episode 6, the finale.
Without giving any spoilers on this episode, Loki by far is the best, to me, MCU Disney Plus show. For me, it used to be WandaVision. I really, really enjoyed WandaVision from beginning to end. Loki Season 2 is better than Loki Season 1, but overall, this show is the best of all of them. And seeing Loki in ways that we've never seen him before, Jonathan Majors, excellent acting, top notch. Absolutely top notch.
I'm sitting here racking my brain trying to see if there's a better show in my mind that Disney Plus has ever done, and I can't really think of one.
No, I mean, there's not. You've got WandaVision, you've got Miss Marvel, you've got Secret Invasion, which sucked. You've got
What if?
Hawkeye, you
What if
have
series?
Daredevil doesn't count yet, and Loki. So there have been 5.
She-Hulk.
She-Hulk, right? 6. She-Hulk sucked.
She-Hulk did not suck. But go
Okay,
ahead.
sure. She-Hulk was not good. What else? That's 6. That seems about right. It seems like there's one more. Seems like there were 7.
Ms. Marvel.
I mentioned that. I mentioned Ms. Marvel was the first one I mentioned. But 6 or 7 shows. Loki is the best of all of them. Then after that, I would probably, well, not probably, but I would put WandaVision. And then they all kind of fall bunched up together with, for me, She-Hulk being at the bottom.
Yeah, this has been an outstanding show. And this last episode was pure hardcore sci-fi.
It was great. It was really
Pure
good.
hardcore sci-fi, which I enjoyed.
Yeah.
In terms of this next phase of the MCU, supposed to be about the multiverse and incursions, I thought it was a good addition to that storyline, and helps set up whatever they can do subsequent to it. One would expect that this Marvel's movie that came out last night, would hopefully capitalize on what the Loki show did, but that would require that the writers, Marvel's current writers, are working on a interconnected, synchronistic level like they did with Marvel's phases 1 through 3, which has not been demonstrated in phases 4 through 5 to date. There's a severe lack of cohesion with what's going on in the MCU. What made the MCU so popular was the fact that the Infinity Saga all connected in some manner, which led to people staying and to see these after credit scenes to see what the next little Easter egg for the next movie is. When the pandemic struck and Marvel and Disney had created the Disney Plus channel, they were scrambling to try and make as much content as possible for that channel. And they basically put out an edict. We don't care about interconnected storylines. Just put out content. Just put out whatever you can. And let's not worry about making everything interconnected. Let's just do stuff that's standalone. In fact, let's hire creators, directors who aren't even into Marvel, just so we can give a different flair for everything. The end result is the mess that we have now in the MCU, where there's no interconnectivity. People have lost their interest in what's going on in the MCU. People say there's superhero fatigue. There's not superhero fatigue. I disagree with that sentiment. I think there is a lack of interest in seeing movies that have no interconnectivity. That's what drew people to the MCU in the first place. It's why the DC movies weren't doing so great in comparison to the Marvel movies, because they weren't emulating that same formula. They tried to microwave that formula rather than marinate it and put it in a crock pot like the Marvel movies did. And that's sort of the mess that we have now in the MCU. This is the cause of the downfall that we have now.
Going back to Loki, though, one of the things that makes Loki special for me are the side characters, the ancillary characters, specifically Ke Huy Quan, better known as Short Round in Indiana Jones, the one who just won an Oscar for Everything Everywhere All at Once. He plays Ouroboros in this, and he is such a delight every time that he is on the screen. The story, seeing the character arc of Loki, who was a straight up villain in phases 1 through 3 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Absolutely phenomenal show. Absolutely the best.
The thing about this Loki series, I've never been one much for redemption arcs of pure established hardcore criminals, or villains, I should say. Loki was a villain. I mean, just to go back to that Avengers 1 movie, he killed a lot of people. like ruthlessly.
Took out a
This is the
dude's
guy who
eye.
tried to take over the entire world. I mean, they're in the MCU. They talked about for years later the invasion of New York and how he killed so many people with his invasion. This is the guy who plucked out a guy's eyeball just to gain access to something. Loki was not a good dude at all. Ruthless. And I was hesitant when they tried to make him more like a heroic figure, at least more of an anti-hero. Because you're like, are we not, are we not looking at the body count this guy made? And now all of a sudden we're supposed to ignore that and sympathize with this guy? But it has been a slow burn, but it has been a really compelling redemption story of Loki, particularly this issue in which you see him come full circle. And in the episode before this, you see him admit, I was a bad guy. I regret. It's the first time you see him ever say he regrets. He regrets doing the things that he does. And you really feel that he regrets it. And you see him genuinely want to change. And in this final episode, you see him make that change. And it's very powerful stuff, the way they handled it.
All this is due to the performance of Tom Hiddleston. So you cannot discount the fact that Loki was probably going to be a one-off, I would imagine. But because of the charisma of Tom Hiddleston in this character, they built a whole story around him. That's one of the reasons why Agatha is about to get her own series if that wasn't canceled, because of how Catherine Hahn performed in WandaVision. People tend to stand out, and then Marvel says, hey, you're a standout. We can build something around you. Right. And that's basically what happened with Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah, Tom Hiddleston his performance cannot be denied.
Right. Something
Jerry
that
Fury says, I think Marvel could go back, they would have toned down some of the things he did. Probably.
Yeah. Something that I learned, speaking of Tom Hiddleston, something that I learned today is that he is married to Zawa Ashton, who is the big bad in the Marvels movie.
Right.
They
have a couple kids too.
I had no idea.
Yeah,
I've never heard of this actress before. And I looked up her IMDb earlier, and even though she's been in a couple of things that I've seen, she never stood out to me. But yeah, she got a big role here.
Oh, by the way, Dream Fury Comics, who was just on here, when are we going to interview you? You need to come on the show. You need to come on Black Comic Lords, a channel, and let's talk about your comic. Picked up Keisha. We need to talk to you. So hit us up, email us. Let's do something. All right. So on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you give the Loki season 2?
The whole season, I would give it a 9.
Yeah, agreed.
It was very good.
And this last episode in particular, for me, was a 10. Yeah. Honestly.
Yeah.
This last episode really, really was a banger.
Yep, it was. So talk about hero fatigue. Invincible episode 2 dropped last night or this morning. And again, without giving any spoilers, it continues its great narrative run. The voice acting is spectacular. The characters that you see, there is not a superhero fatigue. There is a fatigue of, as Paul mentioned a moment ago, the lack of cohesiveness that the MCU, which is basically the big dog on the block right now, when it comes to superhero stuff, but it lacked that cohesiveness over the past 2 or 3 years. That's the problem. That's what people are tired of. But going back to Invincible, they created another banger. And Paul and I were talking before that there needs to be more adult-driven animated shows because Invincible is spectacular.
Yeah.
I can't say enough about it. It is
It really makes me wonder whether or not Marvel should really, if they're having problems with, and I agree with H&H. Gen V was a
Gen V was
spectacular show.
phenomenal.
In fact, I would say Gen V was even better than The Boys, honestly, and I love The Boys. I really wonder whether if Disney Plus is struggling so much, perhaps Disney Plus or Marvel should start focusing on doing animated features much the same way in the tone of Invincible, where you can do, and you know, Disney doesn't do, they really cringe at doing rated R stuff, which clearly, you know, shows like Gen V and Invincible are. But they try to keep things in that PG-13 realm. But there's a lot that can be done. I mean, DC has done plenty of animated movies and television shows in that PG-13 realm and done them well.
The thing is, though, they don't make $1 billion. And so obviously they're trying to make as much money as they possibly can. Those animated movies going back to like 2010 when you had Wonder Woman and Batman, Superman, Public Enemies, Batman, Superman, Apocalypse, things of that nature, extremely well done. The New 52 storyline of animated movies, about 7 or 8 of them, very well done. But these things aren't busting the box office. You know, they're not making 1.3 billion dollars. So that's
but we just had a Miles Morales movie that did very well, and it was an animated feature.
Right.
So it can be done.
That's because that one character, for whatever reason, has become part of the cultural zeitgeist now. Miles Morales is the Spider-Man for a whole new generation, not Peter Parker.
We're talking about a company that made a talking raccoon an international superstar.
They don't have.
They can make a talking raccoon an international superstar. They can make anyone an international superstar. If Marvel has the promotional ability to take an animated feature and make it big if they so choose. Sony is laughing at Marvel when they look at what they did with Miles Morales. And that can be done just like they did with the Invincible films, just like DC does. I understand that they may not make as much money, but I tell you what DC did with those films, with those animated features, they invested in their future, because there's a whole generation of people, and kids in particular, younger people, that are now turned on to the DC universe because of those animated features, because of Justice League, because of the animated features they've done. And that's investing in yourself long term, and Marvel's not doing that. So it'd be nice to see them try to make some more stuff along those lines. What If, they did a great job at What If.
What If was good. What If was real good.
What If was
actually
very good.
About 12, 13 years ago, the Doctor Strange cartoon was good. And there was another one that they did very well. I can't remember what it was now. The Iron Man was what was the Ultimate Universes Avengers called? The Ultimates. The first Ultimates cartoon was really good. The second one that featured Black Panther was not good.
I don't want that one.
But the first Ultimates cartoon was very, very good. It was very good. But
they literally,
those movies were not making $1 billion, you know.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's it. But speaking of the movies, go ahead if you want, Paul. You can put me on mute. I'm going to talk about something for a very quick second. I'll give you the thumbs up.
You want to talk about the Marvels movie, don't you?
I'm going to give you the thumbs up when I'm done talking about it. But earlier today,
I'm gonna pull myself out because I don't even want to hear your impressions on the movie. I'm seeing the movie first thing in the morning. I found a movie theater that has it like 10:30 or whatever, and I'm gonna see the movie. I don't want to have any impressions to color my judgment, so you can go ahead and talk about it, and I'll just chill.
That's what I told him to do. So long story short, I'm not going to give any spoilers to the movie The Marvels. The Marvels came out last night. I saw it today. I'm going to give you a couple of seconds. If you don't want to hear anything about The Marvels, I'll give you a countdown of 3. Then when I'm done talking about it, I'll give you the thumbs up. 3, 2, 1. So The Marvels came out last night. Saw it today. There's been a lot of chatter online about The Marvels. Oh my God, it's going to suck. It's going to be the worst thing ever. basically that's a bunch of haters, because how can you criticize something that you haven't even seen yet, that hasn't even been released yet? Well, I was looking forward to this movie. This is the last or most recent MCU movie that I was looking forward to. I went to go see Ant-Man Quantumania. I wasn't looking forward to it. I saw it. Wasn't that good. I went and saw Guardians of the Galaxy. I know a lot of people like that movie. I thought it was okay. For me, the Marvels, I was looking forward to seeing, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think it was fun. I think it was lighthearted. It wasn't silly in the same vein that Thor: Love and Thunder was, which also wasn't that good. Um, listen, don't go in there expecting, something along the lines of Avengers Endgame. If you want to have a good time, this is a movie for you. However, if you have the time, you will need to be familiar with the first Captain Marvel movie. You will need to be familiar with WandaVision, and you will need to be familiar with Miss Marvel. Miss Marvel, I think, has about 6 to 8 episodes. You can knock that out in a day. WandaVision had about the same. So if you want to invest the time to come up to speed, if you're not up to speed, those are two of the properties that you need to watch, as well as the Miss Marvel's Captain Marvel movie. There is one after credit scene. Okay, so don't sit there like I did till the lights came up, right? There's only one. On a scale of 1 to 10, I personally gave the Marvels an 8. Thoroughly enjoyable movie. That's my one person's opinion. See it for yourself and and then formulate your own opinion. But I enjoyed it. It did not suck, right? That's it. So if you're around, Paul, if you're looking, I'm done. I'm done talking about it. Thumbs up. So that's that.
Are you done? Are you done? Are you not going to say anything? I'm just asking you if you're done or not.
I gave you the thumbs up.
Oh, I mean, I didn't see it. I was on another screen. All right, cool. Well, it's been almost 3 hours.
Jeez.
So, wanted to thank all of you for being here. Marc, thank you for being here.
Hey, no problem. Not going to be here next week. I got a conference I got to go to, so I'll be out of town next week.
You're going to be is that the one in Vegas?
Yep, that's it. That is it.
All right. Well, for all of you, there are plenty of places you could spend your Friday night, and you decided to spend it here with us, and we appreciate that.
For all the veterans out there who may be watching, those who are serving, thank you for your service. For those who have served, also thank you for your service.
Also, before we leave, if you've enjoyed the show, if you enjoyed the channel, please, I beg you, hit the like button. It costs you nothing. Subscribe to our channel if you're not subscribed already. And certainly hit the bell next to the subscribe button. So the next time we come on, you'll know and it'll tell you. And you'll see some more shows by us. So thank you very much. With that, wait, hold on. Let me get these last couple comments. Autumn Sugar, good night, y'all. Good night to you too, Autumn. And to everybody out there in the chat. Appreciate your interaction. And we'll see you next time. Peace.
All right.